Everyone, how you doing tonight? Oh man, that's pretty lame. Good evening, everyone. How you doing tonight? All right.
How about this, Mr. Mayor? How the Ravens doing tonight? All right.
That's almost cheating.
Oh, audience, sir.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to call the meeting of the Santee City Council together, and it's December 13th at 6:30 p.m. And this is our only meeting this month, so I want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody before I forget to. So thank you for being here. And tonight, it's going to be a busy night, a lot going on here. And so tonight, the invocation will be given by Reverend Andreas Walker-Toda, and he is the pastor at Carlton Hills Lutheran Church, and he joined Carlton Hills Lutheran Church as their lead pastor on January 1, 2020. He leads worship, provides spiritual care and support to members of the community. He has been an ordained minister of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, also known as ELCA, for 27 years. 27 years. He got his degree from Columbia University, which is in New York City, a BA in Urban Studies, and Trinity Lutheran Seminary in Columbus, Ohio. And what else does he do for us? Reverend Walker-Toda has served congregations in New York, Florida, and Grand Bahama. He has served as chaplain for immigration detention through Church World Services and as a spiritual counselor for hospice organizations in Florida and California. Thank you, because that's a hard job. He currently serves on the board of the Santee Food Bank, which is located on the Carlton Hills campus, and is actively engaged in establishing solutions for those who are unhoused in our community. His wife, Reverend Tamara Walker, serves on the pastoral team at First United Methodist Church in Mission Valley. I think that's where I got married.
Oh.
We have something very much in common then. So, and then the Pledge of Allegiance tonight will actually be led by Captain Mike McNeil. Thought you were getting away with it last night here, didn't you? So let's please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
May we pray. Gracious God, as we gather together tonight for the last scheduled meeting of the Santee City Council in the year 2023, as the first day of winter approaches and the shortest day of the year is coming, the day in which we experience the greatest amount of darkness, we also recognize that this is the season of Advent, a season of preparation, of waiting, of anticipation towards that which is coming, and that it brings us ever closer to the season of Christmas, a season in which we unabashedly celebrate the coming of a Savior, the presence of Emmanuel, God with us. So help us recognize that in the time of greatest darkness, we may know that we are not making this journey of life, this pilgrimage, alone, but we are surrounded by others of goodwill, and mostly we are surrounded by your goodwill. And we are surrounded by light. The scriptures proclaim that those who live in darkness have seen a bright light. A great light has shone, and upon those living in the region of the shadow of death, light has dawned. Gracious God, for all who are living in the region of the shadow of death, even in a time of war in different places in this world, we pray tonight that that light may now shine in our hearts and among those whom we are called to serve in the neighborhood communities of Santee and beyond, even to the whole world. We pray that you would fill us with your light and inspire us to share your light. We're reminded of the words of the late Reverend Howard Thurman, the Dean of Rankin Chapel at Howard University in Washington, D.C., the mentor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "I will light candles this Christmas, candles of joy despite all the sadness, candles of hope where despair keeps watch, candles of courage where fear is ever present, candles of peace for tempest-tossed days, candles of grace to ease heavy burdens, candles of love to inspire all our living, candles that will burn all the year long. Keep us mindful that the blessings and fulfillment of dreams that we experience in our own lives remind us that we are to care for those whose fortunes in life are fewer. Help us be creative in finding solutions to issues of hunger and housing that reach beyond mere assistance, solutions which lead to new opportunities for individuals and families to create their own best futures. Be with our mayor, our city council members, the city manager and directors, and all service employees, and all those who give of themselves to make this city a better place for all. Guide their conversations and deliberations that take place tonight, and may we always remember the purpose for which we are all here, to work together for peace and justice among all people. In your holy name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, before we get to the fun part, let the record reflect that all council members are present and accounted for. And tonight on the agenda, the first thing we're going to do is an introduction of our 2023 Miss Santee, Miss Teen Santee, and Junior Miss Santee. So I'm going to have Vice Mayor Koval come down and help me with some gifts to give out, and then I will read some different things out. So let's have Dakota, Autumn, and Samantha come on down.
Yeah.
Test, 1, 2, 3, testing. Am I on? Can everybody hear me? Anybody hear this microphone? All right. Good to see you, ladies. All right. You know, this actually happened a while back that they were all received their crowns. It's unfortunate that it's been a while, and we're just now getting to do this, but we wanted to make it official. So we're going to do Junior Miss Santee first, and Dakota is in 7th grade at Magnolia Science Academy in San Diego. In her spare time, she enjoys going to the desert and river. She enjoys listening to music and wants to be a country music singer-songwriter. Hoorah, love that. Dakota has experience riding horses and with small children, having 9 cousins under 8 years old, and having volunteered in the after-school program at her prior school. So we have for you a flower and probably got these in the wrong order. Here we go. Sure, thanks. This is all about teamwork. Teamwork, right, fellas? You said teamwork makes the dream work? I love that line.
Laura wrote it.
And Miss Teen Santee, Autumn Sly, the oldest of 6 siblings, ages 5 to 15. And let's see, Autumn is 16 years old. She attended Santee schools until she transferred to River Valley Charter School after the pandemic. She is a multi-sport athlete and has played almost every sport Santee has to offer. Have you done pickleball yet?
No, I haven't tried that one. I'm waiting for retirement.
You know, sometimes the lesson here is that sometimes you just need to shut up. There's a young man in the back who's doing a class, a project here, and he's watching the council meeting, so I hope that's a good lesson to him. Sometimes you just need to not say thing. That was pretty good, though. Remind me of Dad. So let me continue. Autumn would like to pursue a career as a prosecuting attorney following pursuit of a double major in criminal justice and business. She is honored to have the opportunity to represent her hometown, safe, tight-knit Santee. Thank you. Okay, let's see what cute little things you can come up for me, okay?
I do.
You know what, have done so many events together so far, so it's like we really know each other, so it makes it very easy to have fun like this. So they're not being rude or disrespectful in any way, it's just our way of having fun. So Miss Santee, Samantha Harper. Samantha has been involved with the Miss Santee pageant since she was 13 years old. She is thrilled to serve her community as Miss Santee. Through the pageant organization, she has applied skills she learned in her work for a mechanical contractor for the last 9 years. In the photography business, she started and operates, and as a coach and social media director for Summit Volleyball Club. In her free time, as if you have any, Samantha can be seen at Disneyland or skating at the boardwalk at the beach. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Give me the microphone. Thank you. All right. I'm going to give you all a chance to say something. Say something nice for a change. You go first.
Hello.
It's on.
Hello, everyone. I'm so thankful for getting the opportunity to represent Santee.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm honored to have this opportunity to represent my hometown, and I want to thank you all.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out as well, just like they said. But it's an honor for me personally. It's taken me 7 tries to take on this title, and I couldn't be more excited to have it as my last year. And I hope the remainder of the year is just as amazing as the beginning as it has been. So thank you.
All right. Parents, if you want to come down and get pictures, let's do that now. What, no parents want pictures? Come on down so we can get some pictures. Oh, by the way, that's the rule when we do events up here and give things away. Parents, don't be shy. Come on up. Doesn't matter when you do it. Just come up and get them. Wait a minute. We got to be in the picture too.
Work friends,
That's James Sly. He just hangs around. Thank you very much, ladies. Congratulations. Give it up for the Santee ladies. All right, this next one, I'm going to let Councilmember Trotter handle it because I know he's going to want to gloat a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. Councilwoman Canellis, why don't you join me up front here?
No.
You're going to be part of this presentation too, buddy.
Member,
Come on.
work as a team.
Coach, come on up. Bring you guys up here. Bring that? There you go.
I never heard that.
Got a few here.
Guys, this is Coach Casey Ash. How you doing, sir? So, Councilman McNellis is bringing the trophy down for you here this evening. So, A couple weeks ago, we had our City Club here, and West Hills High School and Santana played our annual game. So Councilman McNellis will be paying off his bet this evening, too, so that's what you see is going on here. So we'll start with that part of the presentation. I think that'll be good for everybody. So annually, every year, we have a bet between the two of us, Councilman McNellis and I, of whoever wins the game, the opposite person has to wear the winning team's colors.
Guess who won this year? And
Wasn't you.
Yeah, a lot of other
Wasn't you.
One. Yeah, a lot.
So, Coach, why don't you tell everybody what the record is?
I don't remember it off the top of my head. It's a lot to a little. It looks like they got one on this side, two on this side. They squeaked out two on this side, two on this side.
9 or 10.
I do want to say thank you for the Santee City Council supporting football in Santee. Obviously, we got the Ravens here tonight, so it's a big night for Santee football. This game is very important to the kids. The trophy has a lot to do with that, and you guys obviously, we're almost all the way around on this thing now, so you've been doing it for a long time. Appreciate your support.
Absolutely. And we've had the honor. We've had the honor to go to the games and actually present it to the kids. Neither one of us were in town actually this time, so we have to give it to the coach here. And the team obviously can't be here, but we both have done it. And when the kids win, they are just overjoyed. It is a big deal in this city. So congratulations again, Coach. Take it home to the West Hills and keep it there for another year, huh?
At least, yeah.
At least.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
For Rob, he's such a sport, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm always the one losing, though.
All right. Thank you very much. The next item is going to be a presentation of certificates of commendation. 13 under Santee Raven Pop Warner football champions. Are they here? Are they here tonight? Coming down to help me out is Councilmember Ron Hall. I'm almost afraid to say this because I might get tackled or something, but why don't you guys come on down to the front? What's going down? Come on down. Come on down. Only the winners up here. Remember, parents, you can come up if you want and to get pictures. Hey, give me some room here. I know I'm the quarterback, but all right. Wait, are we going to be able to get everybody here? Do you do a panoramic or shot or what? Yeah, let's bring some more down here.
Bunch it up, boys. Come on.
Go, Shorty, get on there.
Like you guys like each other. Squeeze.
All right. And what we have is we have a certificate that will be for the actual team, and then we'll give out a certificate to each one of the team players also. And I don't know if we want to spend all that time doing that, or we could actually just give those out to the coach and he can hand them out. Does that work for you guys? Yeah. How about the rest of you? Does that work for you? How do you win? How do you win? They don't even respond.
I respond.
Well, I knew I liked you for a reason.
I know, right?
All right, this says, see guys, you get a little bit of props up here when you respond.
Yeah.
So this is City of Santee Certificate of Commendation. This certificate is proudly presented to 13 under Santee Ravens Pop Warner football team. Congratulations on winning first place at the 2023 Pop Warner Regional Championships. Best wishes on future endeavors. Let's give it up. There you go, Coach. You know, I figured you're the coach because you're a little bit older than the rest of them, and it says so on your shirt.
See the white hair too,
Yeah, just one of them.
huh? Yeah. Just want to say this certificate just shows the value and all the hard work these guys put in this season. Definitely was a fun season and a lot of growth, and ended in with a championship and some rings on their fingers. So here's to them and all the hard work that they've done, and I appreciate everybody coming out here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Get all the pictures? Yeah, go ahead and you can stand up now.
I know.
Yeah, wait till you get my age and you won't be able to get up like that. Getting down's easy though. Get that, Mom, Dad? Get that?
What's funny, Cardi?
All right. One more back there. All right, you need to get one? All right. Turn around, be proud. Be proud of your mom.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Thank you. Good job, Coach. Well, that was almost as much fun as Rob putting on that t-shirt. Anybody having fun yet? That is a good color on you. Just close your eyes and imagine. No. All right. little bit quieter now. That's great. Thanks for everybody for sticking around. So we're going to go ahead and get in on the rest of this meeting. And tonight, before I get a motion on the agenda and the consent calendar, I want to say something regarding item number 1, which is the approval of reading by title only and waiver of reading in full of ordinances and resolutions on the agenda. And that is, this item is asked the City Council to waive the reading in full of all ordinances on the agenda and approve their reading by title only. This item aims to help streamline the City Council meeting process, avoid unnecessary delay, and allow more time for substantive discussion of items on the agenda. And all those items are on the agenda and contained in the packet. So, are there any items to be added, deleted, or reordered? Ron?
No.
No.
Dustin?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman
Not for me,
Ellis?
Mr. Mayor.
City Manager?
No, sir.
City Attorney?
Yes, sir.
Any speaker slips?
Yes, sir. I have a speaker on 1, 2, 3, and 10.
Okay, we'll have I'll take a motion on the remaining items.
Motion to approve.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll
Second by Ron. All in favor, please vote. Lock in your votes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, call item number 1, please.
Truth.
Hello there. That felt a little bit like a preference to what I was going to say. Getting the jump on me, Mr. John Minto, but they're not going to read it, even if it's in the agenda packet. There's my argument. So instead of just the title being read of an ordinance before a vote, because people are irresponsible, they refuse to read even when it's so important, that's why my argument is there should be a short one-line summary of each item read beforehand. But you know who almost made me change my mind? I almost changed my mind about it. I was almost going to be in favor. Mayor Ron Morrison of National City, because he made some good points about one item being 20-something pages and then another item was 40-something pages, and he made me laugh because I think I forgot to mention my short summary idea there. And Steve Goebel of El Cajon did a good job yesterday showing me a stack of payment of warrants that would be ridiculous to add into the agenda packet. So there was another good laugh in education. However, I believe Bill did not read the titles of the items before he spoke. So don't worry, John, this may still be the most transparent city council that exists. Thank you.
Motion to approve item number 1.
A motion and second, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Takes us to item number 2, which is approval of meeting minutes of the Santee City Council for the November 8, 2023 regular meeting.
Truth.
All right, the minutes say that Ron had a city council report about fair enforcement sweeps on the trolleys. And that's exactly why I do not grill you, Ron, because like I have to do for Steve Goebel, because you're honest about things. I appreciate that. And not these minutes, sorry, but the minutes approved at the last meeting had several typos. I just wanted to say that for the record. Thank you.
Approval of item number 2. Second.
Have a motion and second, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
And that takes us to item number 3, approval of payment of demands as presented.
Truth.
All right, Rita got 150 for the California Public Employers Labor Relations Association Conference. And on the CalPara website, under the 2023 conference exhibitors and sponsors, it lists CPS HR Consulting, the wonderful group conducting the international search for a new CEO for the very corrupt Sandag. I also saw Novo Nordisk, who is one of the big biotech companies making RNA shots and putting out cancer-causing drugs like Victoza. And for CalPara's keynote general sessions, they talked about AI changing the world or destroying the world. Rita might know. I don't know if she went to that. And I found this very interesting. The lighthouse effect. How ordinary people can have an extraordinary impact in the world. Quote, "No one looks like their story. Within each seemingly ordinary person is a deeper story about resilience and persistence, gratitude and appreciation, lighthouse moments. Like the physical lighthouse they exemplify, these moments appear in the midst of uncertainty, end quote. I just found that inspiring enough to share. There was a $14 fraudulent charge. There was an Ashdale incident that cost $241. League of California Cities vacations cost almost $1,600, and I'm using vacation facetiously. $84 for somebody's airport parking, and John got another $13 for League of Cities conference. He's costing the cities tons. We're going to go into debt. Consultants got a total of over $117,000. MW Still Group made a crazy over $78,000 for the Arts and Entertainment District ideas that I'm looking forward to talking about that again. And then you had Giant Pizza King, Augie's, Crumble Cookies, Handel's Ice Cream, Cravings, Honey Donuts, and more were listed for Brews and Bites. And it is important to continue for me to mention food whenever possible during a meeting. That's a personal priority. And there were $16 for council meeting supplies. That's undoubtedly, right there, all candy money. Maybe for the Halloween meeting where some weirdos in costumes were running the show, and one of them claiming to be mayor gave out some of those unhealthy candies. But I'm glad that some people are okay with making government fun, because I believe government should be as fun as possible, because how can people be civically engaged if meetings are not engaging? Thank you.
Motion to approve item number 3.
Motion second, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. That takes us to item number 10, which is rejection of claims against the city by Terry Russell, Paula Dwyer, and Garrett Gretler.
Truth.
All right, we have 3 claims against the city, and 2 were regarding tar from a pavement area getting in people's tires, allegedly. Now I could see why the city would reject a claim. They should probably reject all claims because they don't want to pay anything. But what I got from it is pavement rehab company seems to be causing quite a bit of trouble for the city and for residents. So somebody needs to send them a memo about not leaving tar everywhere. We don't need any lawsuits. Thank you.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, that takes us to non-agenda public comment. Speakers?
I have 4 speakers, sir. The first is Robert Ataut.
Hi, Robert. Can you make sure we have your name pronounced correctly?
Sure.
Thanks.
You're the first one. Oath out. So, Robert Oath out.
Thank you.
I'm here again tonight. Back in April 12th, 2023, there was a public hearing for the Community Montessori Project and their major revision for the land use permit. And I brought my concerns to the Element Education and the city. And I brought my concerns, trying to delay, not disapprove of the voting, delay it to bring my concerns and see if we can work out a resolution, because the property was last permitted 40 years ago and the landscape has changed over that time. So my concerns were adding a privacy wall or a lattice on top of the wall, because students, they're kids, but one of the tenants that was living there was Portuguese, and they thought he was the gardener for the owner. And so it's some interactions like that happen, and that really hasn't happened much anymore, but it can. Now there's a new play structure that's 6 feet tall above the wall, and I'm trying to work with a solution, and they can't put a 2-foot lattice on top of the wall because it's zoned residential, but that property is currently a TC, and it is possible. I have documents from the city Santee committee meeting on the 24th of April in 2019 stating that walls can reach about 8 feet in the TC area. That was one thing I still need to address. And then the noisy air conditioners, where you also brought up, can anything be placed to kind of buffer that noise? That question still stands. In evaluating the stormwater were on off due to the landscape changing, coming on and damaging some of the property. So I'm just reaching out to see, because there's no forward progress to address these concerns, nothing in writing saying, hey, we're doing this, and this is where we're going. It's like, oh, just let's leave this person alone and he'll go away. I'm just requesting to see if the city council can follow up, see if everything was done correctly in the rezoning. I see some gaps that could have happened in this process, and I have things that I can prove on that. But I just want to be able to approach you guys and see there's still some issues there that need to be addressed.
Right.
So I look forward to working with the city and Element Education. Thank you.
Marlene, can you do a follow-up on that for us, please? Thank you.
Next speaker, Emily Reed.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to bring my family's current situation to your attention. I have provided you with some photos as well as a copy of a violation letter that we received last week. I am here as a last resort in hopes that my family and I can work with the city to seek resolution on an encroachment and grading permit needed for a retaining wall. Let me give you a bit of backstory. My husband and I bought our house in 2017 with the hopes of growing our family in this city that we both call home. We now have 3 young children and are both very involved in the community. We knew that eventually we would like to build a retaining wall with hopes of extending our yard, similar to many of the neighbors with corner lots. Over the years, we have seen signs of erosion as well as cracks in the concrete due to the shifting foundation here in Santee. Most recently, we have had to repair multiple large cracks in our stucco due to what feels like our house slowly shifting down our embankment. We were told by our contractor that a retaining wall would help slow down this process. We have spent many years saving money, and we are so excited to finally be able to afford this huge home improvement. We hired a licensed contractor that assured both my husband and I on multiple occasions that a permit would not be required for the type of retaining wall that we wanted to build. This may sound ignorant, but this did not seem unusual given the fact that most of the surrounding corner houses have similar retaining walls. We started construction on the wall, and the following week we were paid a visit by Karen Millette, the code compliance officer. She spoke with my husband and told him that someone had called about an unpermitted retaining wall being built. This came as a shock to my husband and I. As I previously stated, we had been assured by our contractor no permit was needed, and he instructed his workers to continue building the wall. Fast forward to today, we are in a situation that quite frankly we did not see coming. The letter we received states that the wall needs to be taken down by Monday, December 18th. We've been told by Karen as well as Carl Schmitz, who is the Director of Engineering for Santee, that there is no way to issue a permit at this time. At this point, it's hard not to feel singled out with all things considered. I'm here to ask for your guidance and support in helping us come up with a redesign that does not involve taking down the retaining wall. We simply want to be able to have this additional safe space for our kids similar to other houses on our street. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Hold on, you're already working on that, are you not? And you've been contacted, from what I understand, you've been contacted by staff, and they're working on something. They're trying to work.
They want it moved completely 5 feet. I'd prefer to collaborate a redesign.
Oh, and that is what you are working on. Okay. All right. I want to make sure that they're actually being heard. Okay. Thank you.
Next speaker, Andres Walker Toady.
Welcome back.
In the spirit of the newly coined phrase from Vice Mayor Koval of teamwork makes the dream work, I want to just take a moment to commend the City Council for action taken at its last meeting on November 8th. I wasn't aware of it at the time, but one Sunday just after that meeting, a congregation member came to me and said, there's a new Ukrainian Catholic church coming into town. And I looked at her and I said, I know the pastor. And so I want to say we join together in welcoming and making plans to work in partnership with St. John the Baptizer Ukrainian Church. I want to commend Father Yuri Sas, whom I met at the church where you got married, though it was the church where my wife was working with refugees from Ukraine. And he was called in as a translator and provided an absolutely wonderful service and care, and we were just so thrilled to experience his presence and his way of doing ministry. And I understand that a major concern for the council was parking. We're just up the street, and if they ever needed extra space for parking and established a shuttle, we'd be more than happy at Carton Hills to welcome them. And so I just want to commend the council for welcoming this new congregation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The final speaker I have is Truth.
All right, first, I would request that in the future, non-agenda be taken before consent comments because people shouldn't have to wait to say their piece, and I know there's some people that don't like to wait for me, specifically. I would also ask all people, particularly those in government, to not lose local focus. Don't get swept up in Israel-Palestine trauma because, one, most people don't even really understand that issue. Examples. Look up Rachel Corrie or the USS Liberty, neither of which the media has ever addressed. And two, we've got a long list of local San Diego County issues that no one's talking about. The county's going to limit non-agenda to 60 seconds. Sandag's about to choose a new CEO during the midst of corruption. And there's expensive ADUs popping up like weeds everywhere, destroying communities. People need to be concerned with your own country, county, city, community, and neighbors. That being said, that Christmas tree countdown to nowhere did light my way to laughter. If I had seen that in person, I would have booed and yelled out, "This mayor sucks. We need to vote him out right now." And last meeting, John and Laura, you guys kept saying you weren't going to be here in 20 years. So I'd like to know, what are you talking about? You guys are young. Are you expecting me to take over? Because I'm not going to be here either. Neither of us are going to be dead, though. Now it's time. What?
Term limits.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not good. Who else am I going to bug? Oh, man. Now it's time for everyone's end-of-year evaluation. Let's keep up the fun. Dustin laughed at Cookie Monster clips, looked closer at the budget than a financial analyst, and chose roads over flowers consistently. Hothead Rob was the man of a million reactions, yet very little eye contact. Still true. Perceptive John tried to maintain a poker face when he actually loves a good joke, but he talks way too much and has no interest in meeting management. We have that in common. Laura had many good solutions and questions that are bad for developers, but good for the neighborhood. Ron was the first here to talk to me in a way I didn't like, and also in a way I was pleasantly surprised about. And now we're good. Justin got to learn how microphones work. Marlene got to introduce numerous public comment and learn how to pronounce the word unanimous when tired. And most of us learned how to get along. And isn't that great? And during that Halloween meeting, there was a young girl here doing research for some sort of school project. I wish I'd got to talk to her about that project because she's lucky to know what a city council is at that age, because I just learned a few years ago. So I'm glad I came and gave a speech about unifying people, because young people need to hear potential solutions and unique ideas and jokes too. And I hope that one day she's going to come here again and she's going to speak about something she's passionate about, because that's what it's about. And I like the adjournment message for that meeting, quote, "You can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water," end quote. Because that reminds me of meetings. You can't shake your fist at the TV screen at home. You've got to get involved and fight for what you believe in. Let that be everyone's resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further speakers, sir.
Thank you. That takes us to item number 12, a public hearing and a resolution approving tentative map, parcel map TPM 2023-0001 to divide a 10.1 acre vacant parcel of land into two parcels located on the northeast corner of Town Center Parkway and Cuyamaca Street in the Town Center Common Town Center Zone, and finding the project exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. Michael.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. The item before you tonight is a request by the Carl Strauss Brewing Company to divide their 10.1 acre property in Town Center into 2 separate parcels, respectively 2 acres and 8.1 acres in size. This is a recent aerial of the site with the boundaries of the subject site highlighted in light blue as shown here. Here is a copy of the proposed tentative parcel map showing how the property would be divided. A new lot line shown here in red would bifurcate the existing property into 2, as I mentioned, a smaller 2-acre property to the south and a larger 8.1-acre property to the north. And then here is a copy of that same tentative map superimposed over the approved site plan for the Karl Strauss Brewery. Approval of this lot line or lot split request would not authorize changes to the approved site plan. However, it would extend the underlying entitlement by another 3 years and would allow Karl Strauss to proceed with the development of the southerly parcel, namely the beer garden, tasting room, restrooms, parking, and associated landscaping. The project is exempt from CEQA as it's a minor division of land. As such, staff would recommend that you conduct and close the public hearing and adopt the attached resolution approving the tentative map and finding it exempt from CEQA. This concludes staff presentation.
Thank you. Speaker slips?
No speakers, sir.
Great. Council?
Do we actually have any forward movement, or will we have some forward movement if this were to get approved tonight? Will they actually start building something finally?
Yes, they've indicated that they would start with the southerly parcel, development of the southerly parcel.
Within what period of time?
Hopefully at the beginning of next year, as early as next year.
Like 2024 next year?
Yes.
Not 2028.
All right, thank you.
So and again, that's kind of my question is, the 3-year extension scares me because it's been 9 years already. Matter of fact, I'm sorry?
Not totally their fault.
Possibly. But anyway, it's been 9 years, and that's a big concern for me. They were tripping all over their feet to try and do this way back then. They could have done it. They decided to go up to San Marcos, and they were all concerned that they couldn't build up there. And we basically have said, come down here, we'll get it approved for you, we'll get you through. And that's the point I'm concerned about. Why 3 years? Where did that come up?
That's part of the MAP Act, the Subdivision MAP Act. So the initial life of a tentative parcel map is 3 years.
Okay, can we actually ask as part of the, make a resolution that they have to build the southern half within a year?
I would defer to the city attorney for that, if we could.
The short answer is no.
Okay.
I can explain
Looking for a
why,
really good
but,
answer.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, you solved that problem. Are they talking about selling that too? I've heard selling it. Is that the reason they're doing that?
I'm uncertain. I think that maybe to finance the southerly part, I think that may be the intent in order to move forward with the hospitality part of the development.
Okay. I'll make an unhappy motion to approve the.
Is the applicant here tonight?
I think that there is a representative of Karl Strauss here today.
Because you might want to answer those questions for you.
I didn't see Matt here, so.
All right, time's up. Okay, I have a
He's
motion.
right there.
Is there
No,
a second?
that is him. Come on up.
Oh, okay. Almost
You're hiding
lost
in the
out
back
on that
there.
one.
There was an accident and then a lot of people on the way.
Come, give us your name, please.
So you're stealthier with the outfit there.
Well, thank you. I dressed for the occasion.
We need your name for the record.
Oh, Matt Ratner,
Thanks,
President Karl Strauss. So to answer a couple questions, yes, we would like to get this divided so that we can finance and start construction on the first part of this, and that's why we're here tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm guessing that the financing is easier when it's subdivided like this?
Yeah, that's really because you have a retail component versus a industrial component. So it's kind of two separate things. So yeah.
Great, thanks, Matt.
And you promise us we'll be doing a grand opening in about 9 months?
I told Marlene if, God willing and all, yes.
Yeah. Well, also staff willing too, so.
Yeah, well, staff willing to, yeah. But I've heard this is a much better city to work with than an unnamed city up north.
Yeah, guaranteed.
He already named it for you.
Oh, all right. Well, there you are, for the record.
And thank you for coming back, Matt, I appreciate it.
All right, then I have a motion. Was there a second? I didn't. Okay, I have a second. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. That takes us to item 13, public hearing and resolution amending the consolidated fee schedule to add credit card and e-check processing fees and to add certain planning and building deposit amounts. Heather?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Madam Vice Mayor and City Council members. This is a report on the consolidated fee schedule amendments. So November 11, 2023, City Council was presented with the credit card fee staff report with recommendations to implement a credit card processing fee. In this report, we discussed how with the implementation of EnerGov, our online sales or online transactions had increased. Therefore, we had an increase in credit card processing fees. The City Council directed staff to add credit card and e-check transaction fees to the city's fee schedule. The direction was to add a 3% transaction processing fee. And e-checks, we'll talk about this one on the next slide. So again, with the implementation of EnerGov, we were able to create the e-check option, something that is new for the city. E-checks allow for payment options other than credit cards. E-check transaction fees are substantially less than credit card fees, and transaction amounts can vary from $41 to thousands of dollars. The rate structure is much different than credit card fees as well. Rates and per item fees are based on a tiered structure and decrease as transaction amounts increase. The average rate for transactions ranges from 0.7% to 2%. Based on the tiered structure of the rates and the variability of transaction amounts, staff is recommending either a 0.7% transaction fee or a 75-cent flat fee. So while updating the consolidated fee schedule for the credit card, for the addition of the credit card fees, staff took the opportunity to include other items that should have been on the schedule already and some new items necessary due to new state laws. The construction and demolition deposit is one of these. It's a refundable deposit based on square footage of new construction, remodels, or demolition. This needed to be added because specific language was removed in the Muni Code regarding square footage. And the language was replaced with the reference that amounts would be established by resolution. This action tonight will satisfy the resolution requirement. The next updated items include two new project types necessitated by new state law. We have SB 330, which is the Housing Crisis Act, and SB 9, 2-unit residential development. Staff recommends a minimum deposit of $5,000 for each. Staff is also proposing a zoning ordinance amendment deposit of $5,000. This is in response to recent requests for zoning ordinance reviews. And lastly, name change from SB 9 subdivision to SB 9 urban lot split. And that, like I said, is a name change only. So staff's recommendation is to conduct and close the public hearing and adopt the attached resolution amending the consolidated fee schedule.
Thank you. Speaker slips?
No speakers, sir.
Thank you. Council, Ron?
Go back a couple slides to the 35 cents a square foot. So when you talk about remodel, is that a percentage of the house, or is that anytime you get a permit?
I am going to defer to the planning department on this one,
Good?
or building.
Anybody?
The square footage is just based on the raw, the fee is based on the raw square footage of the demolition. So we take in a deposit, we help the contractor or applicant to understand what a C&D is. We have a vignette that's on our website that says, hey, track this, keep your receipts, and show that you're not putting all your waste in a landfill. And if they don't do that, then they get their refund back or a percentage of their funds. So these fees were set by Cal Recycle years ago, and we're just putting them back, and all the other cities have the same amount.
Okay, okay, that's perfect. On the 3% we were talking about for the credit cards, I know that's low, but I think that's just a set fee, as I understand.
Yeah, it's definitely lower than what we actually pay, but in light of not discouraging online activity and also being mindful that we're not overcharging in any instance, it's...
But we are going to come back and adjust that, correct?
My hope is that when we actually do the user fee update, which basically breaks down all of our fees and we recalculate all fees, that these administrative charges, credit card fees, processing fees and such will be added in and incorporated into the new fees.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Do we need a motion or?
Anybody else have comments? Dustin, anything? Rob?
So when you're talking about the check fee, I mean, what, 75 cents is 75 cents. Instead of somebody trying to figure out what that fee is going to be or whatever, I just think, just for the sake of simplicity, 75 cents is a number. If that will cover the vast majority of the fees that we incur, then just add 75 cents to it and be done with it, rather than trying to figure out what 0.2% or 0.3% is going to be per check.
So 75 cents will cover the lowest, like those payments that are $41. It'll cover those.
Is that the majority of the checks that we've received, though?
Not necessarily. I would say the average is more about maybe $1,500, because we're talking about.
The average is 1,500?
I would say yes.
Okay. That's a big difference, yeah. All right, then.
So
Never mind.
I was actually.
I'd rather go the other way.
I was
then.
actually going the same route, and I'd rather go with the percentage because I was doing the math sitting here right now. I'm like, wait a minute here. The 75 cents is only going to cover, like I said, up to a certain point. You put $100 on there at 70 cents. You put $1,000 on it at $7, right?
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
if we're taking checks, and we asked this last time, we're taking checks that are thousands of dollars checks. These fees could be.
It's a matter of what the vast majority of the checks are. If you get $1,000
But anything
check.
over $41 is greater than that 75 cents. So I'm in favor of the percentage, not the check, the flat fee.
I'm actually the one that asked for the flat fee, and the reason why is because e-checks, you're charged almost a flat fee, and what we want to do is, because it's less cost to the city for someone to pay a check online than these variable credit cards, we want to encourage people to use checks online. And if we do, as you recall, it was 3% and 3% in the staff report. And if we don't make the e-checks a better value, then it's going to end up costing the city more money in the long run. And it is standard. And also with the e-check, the funds are verifiable with the bank right away, whereas a credit card, you have to pay, some people can pay it over time. And so there's just different reasons financially to do it this way. But what we want to do as a city, I believe, is encourage e-check.
And
I agree with that.
Can I add something about the overall cost of e-checks too? It's very minimal. It's in no way close to what we're paying for credit card fees.
But you'll see, a consumer online will see, all right, if I'm going to pay with an e-check, it's going to be 0.7%. 0.07. But if I'm going to pay with a credit card, it's going to be 3%.
An option.
So, I mean, it's quick
Significantly
math
less.
right there. 0.07's cheaper than 0.7. 3 or than 3%. So, yeah.
I mean, that's
Bottom
encouraging.
line is you have to have a contingency for all types of payments. And I think you're right, Rob.
I really did think the vast majority of our checks were like the business checks, the annual business permits and things of that nature. They're small but the average is 1,500. Then, we're not trying to make money on this, but we're not trying to lose money on this either. And if 0.07 is sufficient.
Yeah, I'm with the Vice Mayor. I mean, I want to encourage these checks. I mean, obviously, it
Absolutely.
does have a much lower, cost to us overall.
And the consumer.
Right.
But I think that alone is enough to get them to do e-check versus a credit card.
In planning, is that something that is going to work? I mean, people are going to be happy to do those e-checks, or what's the experience, I guess?
Are you talking about for like planning deposits?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends probably on the user. So some big businesses that are developing properties, they would prefer to have credit card payments because it's easier for them to track and they understand, hey, it's 3%, it's cost of business. For a homeowner who might come in with a permit for a planning permit, they might be, okay, here's my check. So it just depends on the nature of the permit. But I think having the options are always great because then they can decide what's best for them.
Agreed. Okay, do we have a motion on that? Or
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
okay.
Can we clarify which, do you want to do
0.7.
a percentage? 0.07? Okay.
I was seconding staff recommendation.
We're ready to vote? You need clarification?
Yeah. What is the motion? What is that thing? What is the staff recommendation?
So
On that one point.
On the check fee.
it would be 0.7.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, great. All right, ready to vote? Let's do it.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. That takes us to item number 14, report on status of Interwest Services and a resolution authorizing an amendment to the professional services agreement with Interwest Consulting Group Incorporated, a safe-built company for specialized professional building services to increase the not-to-exceed amount. Aaron.
1 minute, please. Good evening. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. The item before you tonight is a resolution authorizing to amend the professional service agreement with Interwest Group and the report on the services being delivered. In this report, I will review the history of the city's professional service agreement, and next, review the staffing and services being provided by Interwest Consulting, and finally, the current costs and estimates needed to continue to fund the professional service agreement for fiscal year 23-24. Historic highlights. 1981 to present, the city has been engaged in a professional service agreement with Eskil LLC and later its successor, Interwest Consulting Group, to provide staffing services for the building division. The original professional service agreement lasted until December 11, 2017. The City Council approved a new professional agreement with Eskil through June 30th, 2021, with the options for 2 additional one-year periods. On March 9th, the City Council holds a workshop to establish the priority to make changes on how building permit services are provided. On May 25th, the Council reaffirmed that permanent employees be hired. On October 6, 2022, a building official is hired. November 9th, 2022, City Council directs the building division to be staffed and supported using a hybrid model. This model includes 3.5 staff, a building official, senior inspector plan checker, and 2 permit technicians supported by InterWest Consulting. On December 13th, 2022, the existing professional service agreement is extended through June 30th, 2023. A new fee schedule to reflect the hybrid model and additional support for the planning division is included. On June 28th, 2023, a new professional service agreement was presented to City Council for approval with funding capacity of $350,000. The City Council approved the resolution with reducing the fund capacity to $200,000. On September 2023, the Planning Department's Associate Planner leaves Santee and InterWest backfills the need for planning services. Currently, what services are being provided by InterWest? The InterWest Consulting Group is currently providing planning and building divisions with the following staff and services. The building division makes use of a building inspector, a permit technician, and plan review services. The planning division makes use of an assistant planner and a senior planner. Questions were raised at the meeting in June 28, 2023 about plan review turnaround times. The following is a review of 2023. The status of plan review services provided by InterWest for the year 2023 has met the goal of 10 days or less. InterWest completed 334 plan reviews in 2023. The average review was completed in 7.4 days. This is important to note that there's changed the way permitting is done today. It is important to note. Santee's online portal went live on August 30th and has been steadily improving the services and specifically delivery. The response back from citizens has been positive at the counter and on the phone. It is with the support of InterWest Consulting and the new system that the project turnaround and next day inspection services have continued to improve. Next, I will provide a review of the permit fees, estimate of cost for services, and a need to increase the funding capacity for 23-24. All costs are driven by permit activity. Expectations last May and June forecasted a continuous slowing of permit activity and low projections for permit fees. A review of permit fees for the last 4 months indicates permitting has held steady. The monthly average has been $90,000 to $100,000 in fees. The estimate for fiscal year 23-24 is $1.1 million. So let's review the costs. A review of the average monthly cost for services has been $20,000. This estimates to a $240,000 annual cost for services. Next is the expected increase of cost for inspection services of $60,000 for the remainder of the year. This is due to legacy permits paid under the previous professional service agreement being finished. And finally, as noted earlier, the planning division had needed support due to vacancies. This service is estimated to be $30,000 for the year. The total estimate for services is $330,000. So the current funding of $200,000 is deficient by $130,000. The current revenue projection for fiscal year 23-24 supports the increase based on the current permitting activity. The resolution before you tonight is a request to increase the funding capacity to $330,000. Staff recommends the City Council adopt the attached resolution, increasing the not to exceed the amount for the professional service agreement with InterWest Consulting Group of $330,000. If you have questions for staff or InterWest Consulting, Dave Niff, the Director of Operations, Shelby Zernak, the Senior Accountant Manager, is here in the audience for any questions you may have from them.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
No speakers, sir.
Thank you. Council?
Yeah, I just want to say that hearing from InterWest make the pitch is very different than hearing from you, and I definitely have a lot of trust in you and what you, how you've laid this out for us. So I appreciate. I don't say it very often, probably not enough. I appreciate all the hard work you do, and I'm glad you're part of this Santee team, and definitely your staff as well. So I just wanted to say that publicly because there's a lot of transparency that, with you leading this. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. We appreciate all the support you give to us, too.
Ron, anything?
No, I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay. Justin?
Well, I'm actually encouraged by this report tonight, Aaron. This is kind of our 6-month mark of our, of us going into all this hybrid, right, that we're doing. And going through 6 months, and hopefully within a year, we'll have some good data and you come back with a report. But as we go through the staff report and look at this, we got some real positives happening right now within our building department. Like you said, not only the customer service and the good things that we've heard back from the community, but from the original 21 days that SKIL used to provide to us, going all the way down to 7.4 days is a huge, huge benefit to our, customers in there. And then the amount of money that we're actually saving is pretty significant, with the changes that we've made in here so far. And we're getting a bonus in here by utilizing their services for our planning department within really that same uses of money, that pool, even though it's in the planning department, it still kind of all fits within all that the money that we have
It does.
brought in, with the fees and things for the year.
It does.
So
The planners
right now
April
we
plan.
are getting a lot more money bang for our buck and a lot better service, from with the contract you negotiated with them. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Glad
Second.
you're pleased.
Anything, Rob? No. Okay.
No, I
you know-
think they're just doing a bang-up job, so it's much appreciated.
So one thing I want to point out, though, is when I talk to people that say, oh, I like to do, some kind of project in our city, they say, what's the turnaround time on an application? And I say, 10 days or less. And nobody believes that, because you go anywhere else in this county and that just doesn't happen, or nobody's had that experience, I should say that. And so to be able to brag about that. Now, not everybody understands that we will turn around and get it back to them, but if there's changes to be made, they still have to get it back to us in a timely manner too. Correct. So the time that they spend on not giving it back to us to get another 10-day or less return, that's on them and not on us. And I try and point that out to people, and they go, well, okay, I guess I better get on the ball here.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, our reputation countywide previously when we had SKIL was we were one of the worst cities in this county. We were down towards the number 18 in there. Right now, our reputation has gone all the way up to like number 6 in the
Very
county.
good, very
with our
good.
changes that we've made, you guys. So proud of you guys. Thank you.
Well, well, the bottom line is it's not just, the council, it's not just our staffing, but it's also the partners that step forward at Interwest. So I want to thank everybody for doing that also, because I think it was heard loud and clear going through this whole process how important it was to the city council. So thanks, everybody.
I think just to add, Interwest and myself and Sandy, we've been working with them. They've been very receptive and very responsive, and that's really helped get things done and resolve issues that come up quickly, so we don't have to move things back and forth. We can make a decision and go forward with it, and it's been a privilege to work for you.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Okay, I have a second, a motion and a second. Did you catch both of them?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Did we want to take a half-hour break before this next one?
No.
Just kidding, everybody. Okay, that takes us to item number 15, the cannabis retail application process update. Who's jumping on that one?
I am. Hi.
Or
I'm
her
over here.
voice.
Do you want me to move? Oh, okay. I know. Here we go. Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Tonight's item is an update on the cannabis retail application process for your consideration. For a little bit of background, in March of 2021, City Council directed staff to develop a cannabis ordinance. Between May of 2021 and June of 2022, 5 community workshops were held. In August of 2022, City Council adopted Ordinance 602, permitting the issuance of up to 4 retailer permits and no limitation on testing labs or micro businesses without a retail component. Other types of permits were prohibited. In November of 2022, City Council directed staff to develop an application process for the retailer permits. Between June of this year and November of this year, we had 4 City Council ad hoc subcommittee meetings where we discussed the process. After the council direction, staff, along with the support of HDL, conducted a best practice research on the retailer application processes used throughout the state. What we found was there were a lot of examples of a 4-phase process, which I'll discuss tonight, and we have detailed in the attachment to the staff report in the procedures manual. Before the phases start, the city would open an application period for approximately 45 days, and during that time, the applicants would provide the following documents. In the application itself, there would be a business plan, which shows how the retailer would manage their finances and how they would operate day to day. There would be a labor and employment plan, which describes their expected number of employees, their responsibilities and proposed benefits. You would have a security plan, which would be prepared by a qualified professional that shows how the location would be secured along with their use of space. You would have a qualification of owners, which would discuss the prior experience of the owners in the cannabis business. A neighborhood compatibility plan, which would discuss how the businesses would not be a nuisance to the community and their plan to ensure that products do not end up in the hands of the youth. There would also be a community benefits and investment plan, which would discuss the businesses' support to the local community, identify their minimum wage for their employees, and the businesses' local employment outreach plans. And there would also be a site plan which show how the location would be developed to facilitate a retail experience. In addition to those plans, each application would also include other components. Please note that the drafts of these documents with asterisks on the names on the slide have been provided also as attachments so that public could see what might be expected. So first you have the financial responsibility, indemnity, and consent to inspection agreement. You'd have an agreement on the limitations of the city's liability and indemnification to the city. You'd have a verification of LifeScan background submittal. I'll note here that we're currently working with the County of San Diego to provide these services. We'd also have a property owner consent and landlord affidavit, proof of insurance or letter of insurability, proof of capitalization, a zoning verification letter, and an application fee. With the exception of fee, as we've been talking about tonight, everything else would be submitted online through EnerGov. So once the applications have been received, we would move to phase 1. In phase 1, staff will review the submitted materials for eligibility and completion, and if there is a need for clarification, staff would coordinate with the applicants. For phase 2, application evaluation and review, staff would review and score each application using the merit-based system that we noted in the procedures manual. For this phase, there's a total of 1,200 points. 400 points are the maximum allowed or that you could receive for the business plan, 400 points for the labor and employment plan, 400 points for the security plan. The top candidates would advance to phase 3. Oops. In phase 3, which is the interviews phase, you can receive up to 1,600 points, and a staff and evaluation and interview committee, which would be determined by the city manager, would conduct a merit-based interview process with the qualified candidates to forward eventually to city council under phase 4. In this phase, there's 1,600 points available, so qualification of owners could receive up to 500 points. The neighborhood compatibility plan could receive up to 400 points. Community benefits and investment plan could receive up to 450 points, and the proposed site plan could receive up to 250 points. In phase 4, a notice public hearing would be held for an interview of no more than 10 qualified applicants. And then the city council would interview the candidates and make a determination as to which, if any, of the applicants may be awarded a permit. A fee survey was also conducted to determine the fees that other jurisdictions charge for applying and also for their yearly renewals. Staff is still determining what the final recommended fees would be, but we estimate that the application fee would be anywhere between $17,000 to $20,000. The annual regulatory fee would be anywhere between $28,000 to $30,000. The appeal process fee would be anywhere between $9,000 to $11,000, and the zoning verification letter would be anywhere between $100 to $150. The draft procedures manuals I keep mentioning, sorry, it's just making sure you look at that thing. It details an appeal process for phases 1, 2, and 3. But after the final city council decision, there will not be an appeal period. Staff, in order to ensure an unbiased evaluation, will be soliciting proposals for a hearing officer to hear and resolve any received appeals. In the past year, there have been 3 general questions that have come up, so I felt like we should address them now. First is about buffers from sensitive use locations. For a parcel to be eligible for a retail location, they have to meet 2 criteria specifically related to cannabis. So the first criteria is they must be outside of the buffers surrounding sensitive use locations. For the city's ordinance, we require 900 feet from sensitive use locations located within the city itself. But state law requires 600 feet from sensitive use locations regardless of their jurisdiction. So here you can see the light tannish color is the 900 feet buffer and the grayish color is the state law buffer. Both of these criteria must be met in addition to any other planning or zoning requirements outside of the cannabis ordinance. The second criteria is the parcel must be zoned for either light industrial or general commercial. At the time the ordinance was adopted, there was direction not to allow retail locations in the neighborhood commercial known as NC zone. Per the municipal code, the NC district is intended to provide areas for immediate day-to-day convenient shopping and services for the residents of the immediate neighborhood. Should the council direct otherwise, the ordinance would need to be amended before we could move forward with the retailer application process. The third question relates to whether manufacturing uses alone, so not part of a microbusiness, would be allowed. Also, at the time that the ordinance was adopted, the direction was not to allow manufacturing uses alone. Should council direct otherwise, the ordinance would also need to be amended, but we could move forward with the retailer application process. For next steps, staff will be working to finalize these 4 fees here, as we mentioned. We will continue to work with the County of San Diego Sheriff's Department to secure a memorandum of understanding for them to provide the background verification services needed. Staff will solicit proposals for a hearing officer for any appeals, and we expect to return to City Council in early 2024. I'm available for any questions.
Speaker slips.
Yes, sir, we have 5 speakers.
Thank you.
The first speaker I have is Luis Iriarte.
Luis, can you pronounce your last name for us, please?
It's Ituarte. I don't think that helped, huh?
That's what I said.
Ituarte.
Ituarte. Oh, that was really good. Good afternoon. Like I said, my name is Luis Ituarte. I am the Director of Compliance at Wellgreens Dispensary. I'm here today to express our appreciation for your efforts in developing the cannabis application program. This initiative is not just a professional interest for us at Wellgreens, but also a personal one. Many of us, including myself, have our roots in East County, and this application will be particularly meaningful to us. At Wellgreens, we currently operate 6 dispensaries within the county and are in the process of adding 4 more. Our track record of fostering positive relationships with local communities where we operate stands as a testament to our commitment and responsibility, and we're eager to extend this here in Santee. However, while we're enthusiastic about this opportunity ahead, we'd like to suggest a consideration to the application process. It may be beneficial to limit the number of applicants to 1 per property, as this could, prevent potential complications such as the dilemma of having to choose between 2 qualified applicants sharing the same property, or forcing the relocation of an applicant. If the property is a key factor in the decision, shouldn't we ensure it's uniquely tied to a single application? In closing, we at Wellgreens are excited about the possibility of working closely with you, and we look forward to the opportunity to engage and support the strong sense of community in Santee. Thanks.
Thank you, Luis.
Next speaker is Truth.
All right, hate to break the news here, but the product's already in the hands of the youth. They don't actually need these stores at all. There's $17,000 to $20,000 in permit fees, plus $28,000 to $38,000 a year, plus $9,000 to $11,000 in an appeal process fee, plus $100 to $150 for a verification letter. That's over $61,000 to start a pot shop with no storefront retail option. And the funny thing is, no one voted for this ability, government permission, to sell marijuana, thinking they're going to face crazy high taxes, and yet here it is, and I knew it was coming. Because everything's always pay to play. There's no such thing as free. You can't vote in freedom. You can only vote in permissions or further tyranny. But there's big money in this industry, and that's why they're so desperate even to pay these crazy taxes for permission. And that consultant, the original consultant, HDL, I actually remember from the county a couple of years ago. I'm just going to say that particular presenter from particular county meetings had very red eyes, coincidentally. The 900-foot buffer, I actually don't think that's far enough from places of worship or schools, because that's about the width of an ADU, not very far. But I did see that there were neighborhood considerations, but I think I would have to take a really close look at that map, because it looked like they would mostly be permitted in the city center, but maybe near some neighborhoods. I need to look closely at that map. I found it weird. Well, I did skim through all the various criteria, and I found it weird that there's a point system for applicants. I don't really get what the point of that is. And I found it strange that expecting businesses to use social media to see and respond to complaints. I don't know. If I had a problem with a business, I'm not going to go on their social media. I barely use it as it is. Anyone with 10% or more ownership cannot be on more than one retail application. And I feel like that there could be a loophole with that. And I wouldn't want any cannabis Cardenas sneaking through the cracks for that green grass known as money. And that's actually why I like the integrity guidelines. And I think those same guidelines should apply to everything in government. Thank you.
The next speaker is Andrea Aranda.
Good evening, esteemed mayor, honorable members of the city council, and dedicated staff. I'm Andrea Aranda, leading the licensing and compliance efforts at Culture Cannabis Club. Our CEO, Devin Julian, regrets his absence tonight due to an engagement in Madera, but sends warm regards. I wish to express our gratitude to the city staff and the Cannabis Committee for their meticulous work in advancing this matter. Their attention to detail promises a streamlined process, ensuring that Santee welcomes the finest operators. Tonight, I aim to address the question presented by staff to City Council regarding the potential inclusion of neighborhood commercial zoning for storefront retail operations. Our stance supports this addition based on the definition of these zones and current businesses operating within them, mirroring the essence of cannabis retail. These neighborhood commercial zones frequently host liquor stores, tobacco shops, vape outlets, bars, grocery stores, and various other common storefront essential for nearby residents' convenience. By incorporating neighborhood commercial zones and considering existing setbacks, only 2 locations emerge as viable options, both situated along Woodside Freeway, visibility to the 67 freeway. Regrettably, both sides suffer from neglect and noncompliance with current codes requiring revitalization to align with Santee's esteemed design standards similar to those seen in the town center. Beyond enhancing these locations aesthetically, we believe these would become among the city's sole viable storefronts. This significance lies in providing necessary infrastructure like traffic management, ample parking, signage, and visibility, consequently boosting potential tax revenues. Additionally, these Woodside locations offering freeway visibility could grant access to legal cannabis for residents in underserved neighboring communities like El Cajon, Lakeside, Alpine, and other communities along the 67 freeway, could conveniently access and support Santee's economy without unnecessary detours. Lastly, regarding concerns about potential delays due to amending the ordinance, Our experience in other municipalities suggests that such amendments can progress concurrently with the application process. I defer to the city expertise of the city manager and city attorney on how quickly it could be done. However, we believe a pathway exists where any delay might be minimal or even non-existent. I urge your careful consideration in improving neighborhood commercial zones for commercial storefront cannabis. Thank you for your time and attention tonight. Culture Cannabis Club eagerly anticipates submitting an application in Santee, the hometown of our CEO, Devin Julian. Should there be any further questions, I'm readily.
Next speaker I have is Arkan Somo. A reminder, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, staff. My name is Arkan Somo. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before you tonight. I got to start with giving kudos for the staff. You genuinely, honestly did a great job. You really did. Manager, city attorney, and all staff. You kind of overdid it a little bit, though, okay? And if I were you, I wouldn't mind overdoing it because scaling back, it's a lot easier than going the other way. And that's why I'm here. We all believe in good public policy. We believe in fair and transparent process while keeping in mind the safety of our community, which are the goals of these actually 4 points that I'm going to bring up. Number one, if you go under the application process and review, page 2, paragraph 4, there's a sentence that says, in addition, the city will only accept a maximum of 2 applications per property. Now, there are facts in this process, and I'm sure the staff already find out. You're going to be bombarded. The staff will be overrun. But the most important part I'd like to share with you, what would happen if you end up approving 2 applicants in the same locations? You don't have a process for that because now you have to deal with the whole process of trying to locate somebody else. Keep in mind, you're already approving up to 4 permits. You're going to have, at least 15 to 20 applications, and you're going to have a lot of talent, especially locally, good family businesses that will be qualified. So I really urge you to reconsider that. It's just going to make it much messier, much longer, and a lot of burden on the staff, not to mention the possibility of approving 2. Second point, page number 7, paragraph 5, second sentence, it says, in addition, the city also expressly reserved the right to award a lesser number of CCB permit than the maximum allowed, which is perfectly fine, by the way. Just because you said it's up to 4, that doesn't mean you have to do that. I got to hurry up. So I just want you to think that at least you have to commit to 1 or 2, just to make sure that people have a little bit of chance to do. Number 3, which is the 900. City like La Mesa did the path of travel. No, city of San Diego said no path travel unless if there is barrier. If there is a barrier, then you have path. I urge you to consider that. And finally, think local. We have a lot of family-owned businesses in San Diego, especially in East County, and putting a few pointers on the application process wouldn't be such a bad idea. You don't want to be bombarded by the big corporate dispensaries who's going to come from LA, San Francisco, and sometimes out of the state. Let's support local business people. Thank you.
Final speaker I have is Cameron Pittman.
Hello, I'm Cameron. I am a local resident. I have lived here my entire life, minus a small stint to go to college. I'm raising my family here. I'm a local volunteer. I work at a school. All that to be said, I want to stand here not as somebody who is trying to gain your business, but as somebody who has worked in the cannabis space, not as a retailer, but as a brand. And so I have had the unique opportunity to visit retailers up and down the state, hundreds of them. And so as I look at your application process, I have a few things that I just feel like I should point out that might make this process more successful. As much as we think this industry is booming, it is not. There is a lot of barriers in this industry, which is causing a lot of retail businesses specifically to either go out of business or to not pay their bills whatsoever to any of the other operators, such as a brand. So that being said, I would just take a look at maybe some local operators, find out how much their revenue actually is if they're willing to share that information with you before we start to jump at some of these really high fees that we're seeing. That being said, I do truly believe that some of these high fees are going to push out local operators who have roots here in the city, who want to offer a business here in the city, but because of these fees, might not be able to meet some of the criteria that you guys are laying out. And I think it's super important that if we are going to have a successful business here, that it is somebody that has ties to the city itself. A few other things I did not see in these criterias were parking and transportation. I know that there was some plans there, but specifically, what does the parking and is there accessible transportation? Because some of the people who need this medicine, this plant, require transportation that is just not their own. Community feedback and support. So as much as we say, what is the plan to help support the community? Are they actually talking to the community to get feedback and support to see what the community needs versus coming in and saying, hey, this is what you guys need and this is how we're gonna do it. Diversity and inclusion as a whole, I think that that is a goal of the city, and I think having that in the application process would be huge. And that is whether it's BIPOC, whether it's veteran, any of those sort of things that help support would be good. And then community benefit, we talked about that a little.
No further speakers.
Thank you. Is that it? Okay. All right. Who wants to go first on council? Want to hear from the committee members?
So this has definitely been a bit of a daunting task, and it is to the extent that we are, you're trying to write something that protects the city and protects our constituents therein. But the reality is there's nothing you could do that's going to 100% protect everybody, just like we get sued for so many different things already. This, there's always more potential for that. We get sued when somebody's tire pops in a pothole. There's all sorts of different things. So we've done everything we think we possibly can. We've looked at so many different other application processes and things of that nature throughout the state and other states. Staff has done a really good job of providing that information. Laura and I have been, Vice Mayor Koval have right now we've dug in pretty deep ourselves. We've had meetings with just the two of us to try and whittle things down even more. Get some more clarity on things, and this is where we've finally gotten to. But even with all of that, there obviously are still some questions, and I appreciate that's bringing in people from the industry or those that are in the industry, or just have an interest in seeing this happen in the city, or against it, whatever. They bring their concerns forward to us. And one of the things I would like to reiterate once again is, because we did have a potential applicant come before us and give testimony about manufacturing and wanting to do manufacturing only. And I didn't have a problem with that to begin with, but others did. That was almost 2 years ago now. Things have changed. The processes are all changing. I would like to reconsider bringing manufacturing into this you can do it within the same guidelines, the same barriers and all that kind of stuff. I'm okay with that, but I would like to see that as another potential. Another thing that I've now, having met with a number of people that trying to give us information, I've heard quite often something that the last gentleman had just mentioned, and that's the financials with creditors. So when we're looking at financials on our side, I was thinking, all right, what's their wherewithal? But we don't know if they're actually paying their creditors, because a lot of the stuff isn't on a credit report. These are not things that, that will actually show up. So I would like to see something. I don't know how, I have no idea how we're going to really make that work, but if we could work towards finding a way to make sure that whoever the applicant is can prove that they've got a good standing with their creditors, with their suppliers, because that's what I keep hearing is they show a lot of money in the bank account. Well, they're showing it because they're not paying their suppliers. They're holding them off for 30, 60, 90, 120 days and then running up these huge bills and basically putting these people out of business because they just don't pay them. I want to make sure that that's, that we're doing everything we can to help mitigate the chance of that happening here. The one applicant per property, I didn't even, another thing, we didn't even really think of it. I know it was in the application, no more than two, but in my mind, I never even thought of having two. I mean, I always thought there would be one per. So I think that's probably a good idea to make sure that we're just looking at one applicant per property address, unless somebody can tell me a reason why that wouldn't be the case. I think that it's just going to solve a number of potential issues for us. But if you've got an argument against it, I'd like to hear it. And then the final thing would be the neighborhood commercial. I think I know which property that is. It's where like the High Sierra used to be or is or whatever. Yeah, that's a really unique property, and we had discussed that we will take those as a one-off, but it's a zoning issue now. So I don't know if there's any other places within the city that wouldn't fall within the other 600, 900-foot guidelines that would allow other neighborhood commercial to be involved.
Councilman, currently, the way that the buffer zones are set up, the locations along Woodside, where the High Sierra facility is, are the only ones that would currently qualify.
Just that one property.
That is correct, except for we want council to understand, you have been able to set all of those zoning parameters if, there's
right.
two in that same area.
Oh, in the
Well, and can I maybe jump in and
Right.
reframe that?
If you
that
make
question?
a change.
Thank you.
Just because you said it properly that this is a zoning question. It's not
Yeah.
a buffer question. So the issue here is really, you spent a lot of time looking at this. Obviously, you can reconsider it, but you looked at all the different uses and made a council decision to exclude neighborhood commercial. You need to think about that citywide. Obviously, any individual property owner who has a unique circumstance, so if I'm a property owner and I'm zoned neighborhood commercial and I think this is a place where it actually should be a cannabis business, I have the ability to come in and ask for a zone change myself to change the use on that property. But at the council level, it's kind of difficult to look individually when you're thinking about zoning, right? So I just would kind of try to reframe it in that context. It's not a buffer issue. It's a zoning issue. Yeah.
It is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Because it is citywide. However, it frankly only affects one property at the moment because of the buffers that already exist throughout. I mean, you look at the map, it grays out or tans out, whatever you want to talk about, a great portion of the city. And those little green areas are all that's left. And that doesn't mean that those are all vacant. The vast majority of those are not vacant. They have businesses already in them, long-standing businesses that are not going anywhere. So it is definitely, I mean, we don't want to cause a run on the three places that are vacant and available and meet the criteria. And now, somebody's outbidding everybody. That wasn't the concept behind this to begin with.
So can I clarify? So all the council members should have this map at their desk. It's to prevent you all needing readers like me. But there are actually 3 NC locations that are outside of the buffer. There are 3 total. So the location that we were talking about previously, You'll see there's another location between these blobs right here. I can show you on here, but I don't know if it's easier to see it on the map itself, or I can show you on the slide. And then there's another one, but it's Lantern Crest. So I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
I don't know. Michael's always looking for ways to.
Well, he might have a captive audience, right? But we've got
Captive
three.
audience.
I don't know. Yeah, if you can see them here. So you've got, oh, you can't
One.
see my little cursor. So you've got the one, can you see that? You can't. Can you guys give me control over in clerk so you can see my cursor or no?
Yeah, I saw that one.
Okay.
So it's all the way down here.
Or you guys find it out?
Okay. Yeah. So it really is just those two. Yeah.
It's not showing it. If I go here, let me see. Oh, look at that. How about that?
There you go.
All right, here we go. So you got that NC right here is what you were talking about previously. You've got this NC right here, and then you've got one here.
The middle one, which
Yeah, what's
I'm
that?
trying to think what property that is. Oh, where that other liquor store is.
I'd have to look at what it is.
Christmas tree lot.
So anything that's in green, therefore, is a parcel
wood?
that's in the IL or the GC that
Yeah,
for strictly cannabis purposes would be available.
It's right where so it is that liquor store, and then the Eagles Club behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so, yeah, those. I don't see an issue with those, but I mean that's just 1 out of 5 up here, and the most diligent way to get there, I would leave to you. But if everybody else is okay with that, we'd leave it to staff and let them take the time that's needed to make that happen, and move this forward. But I think that was all of my. Those are all my comments and concerns.
Can I go back to your third point about more than one application
location.
per property?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think the thought was that it would provide more opportunities for people to submit their plans for the property. And you can have like operations that would be different, even though the geography, that location is the same. You'd have day-to-day operations different. You might have a different community benefits plan. So there are things that are outside of the location that might be different for the applications, but we're not tied to it. I just wanted to give you sort of the thought behind why we were thinking that.
And I truly appreciate that, because that is exactly what we need. We need to kind of figure out in the real world, in practical world, and practical application, what will this look like, and how will we be dealing with it? So I do appreciate that. I just does that benefit outweigh the negative of having somebody out trying out? Now they're outbidding each other on a property to be able to want it's yeah, and having landlords pitting people against each other. It's just going to happen. It's we already know. I already know it's happening at least at one spot. Landlords trying to get rid of people just so they can get somebody that will give them a big chunk of change, because they know they're one of the few places, and so they're trying to get rid of long-term businesses that have been in there, and it's just a shame. But it is, it's the real world. So, yeah, I still think that's probably the most appropriate would be to have one per address. Weighing it all out, but
one retail per address.
Well, that's what I'm sorry. If you had manufacturing only, and then retail, yeah, absolutely. But because there's only one that's dealing with the public. It's only one that's public facing, I should say, and that's what most people are really concerned with, is the public facing aspect of it. So, yeah, I would agree with that. If you didn't hear Vice Mayor Koval, she was just stating one retail per address. But if you're going to have something that's one retail, and then you're going to have another one that's pure manufacturing, if we do decide to go that route, then it's applicable. Or a micro business.
Sean, do you have a comment?
Just real quick, I because we do want direction on that specific point, but I do want to point out just for everyone that it's not like there would be confusion in the end, because we do specify that only one permit will be issued, one license
Absolutely.
will be issued per property. So
Yeah.
we've built in but you're right that it does raise, some competitive issues that kind of are pros and cons, and we do need direction on that.
Okay, I have a question about this, though. Let's say we do get that 20 or 30 applicants. Do each one of those applicants have to have a address in mind already, or are they get into a queue, and when an address becomes available, then they are?
No, they have to have a specific address with the consent from the property owner. It's a whole process. Yeah.
Right. So that was the reason why I was asking that question, is because when we talk about these neighborhood commercial locations, somebody may have already purchased or got into a long-term lease with. And if we change, for instance, our zoning or whatever, so that they can submit their application, then to me it gives the impression that they've already been approved for that location, although it hasn't happened.
Nope.
And so, or even the optics of it could be that we're doing it because we're already going to give it to them. And I know that's the furthest from the truth, but we have to make sure that we are very transparent about everything. Because you know what, if somebody has an address and they, apply, well, then they can always ask for a zoning change, is the way I see it.
But I think that's why we're doing this now, rather than after, when the application process is already open and people are supplying them. I think doing it now beforehand, the rules are the same for everybody. They're coming into this with a clean slate. We didn't already start this process and have applications out and we're awarding.
I get that.
And then after going, hey, but Joe over there just bought that spot and we want Joe to. That's not what we're doing. Everybody's got the same.
I know that.
And another thing that I've heard from a number of people is that the people that are getting into this, they're spending a lot of money, and they have spent a lot of money in other cities, in Oceanside and San Diego proper, and all those type, and never get approved. Mm-hmm. And they, several $100,000 on having an address, and it never gets approved, and they don't get a license.
No, I get that.
They know what they're doing. I'm just trying to keep it as a level of a playing field as possible and give as many options as possible, so people aren't just bidding up and. Then you, like, as I said, you only have the super elite or the super big that have the opportunity or the ability to come in and compete, because, the number is just too difficult to reach in buying a building or leasing a building in a long term.
All right.
So
just wanted to express my thoughts on that.
And I appreciate it. We need the sounding boards.
Laura, you had some?
So the big shocker is Rob and I agreed on a ton through this process. No, I'm kidding. It was great, and we're both still alive. Yes, true.
Let's be honest, you win.
True. So this shouldn't be a shock, but can someone define neighborhood commercial for me and everybody?
Sure. So the definition per the general plan is what I read on that slide. So let me get it back for you. So it's intended that the neighborhood commercial district is intended to provide areas for immediate day-to-day convenient shopping and services for the residents of the immediate neighborhood.
So it doesn't say a neighborhood commercial property is this far from a resident's property, like.
No, it just says immediate neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the main reasons I was surprised about that location where the High Sierra is, because it's Woodside Avenue in the 67, and even the homes are pretty far away. Whereas neighborhood commercial in my neck of the woods, which is over by GTM, the backyards are right there behind it. And, so I wouldn't want to allow neighborhood commercial to be, I would want to look at when was this particular place?
We did a little bit of research on
Thank
that for you. So it's actually been neighborhood commercial and IL. So the property is split. It's a dual split. But the part that's been developed, sorry, I'm going to need clerk assistance again, has been neighborhood commercial since the general plan for the city of Santee. So 1984. Sorry.
In my opinion, I don't know that this warrants neighborhood commercial just based on, I mean, this blue area behind the neighborhood commercial, first of all, you can see Woodside and then 67, and what's across the street is that, I think they sell RVs right there. And then there's a big embankment up, and then there's some yards. It's pretty significant. So I don't know if perhaps, can we look at a property like this and say, this shouldn't have ever been neighborhood commercial? Or maybe in 1984, but not now.
You blame it on that.
I'd encourage the council to do two separate things. One, think about it broadly as a zoning question, and think about across the city and making this use allowed in neighborhood commercial, and then thinking with the buffers in mind where that use would actually be allowed, and making a broad, not property specific decision about it. I think that's the way to think about it. I don't think you should think about individual properties at this point, and certainly the individual owner, if you don't change the zoning, can apply and do that on their own, and that's a typical process if they think the zoning is inappropriate. But at this point in time, kind of where you stand, I think thinking more broadly about it is a more prudent approach.
So my question to that is, we're saying a 900-foot buffer, and it's property line to property line, not door to door like La Mesa. But what if another council comes in and says, oh, well, we just want to go with the 600, and then that opens up more neighborhood commercial that we didn't anticipate. And that's the fear that I have is, we're going through this process.
There's only 4 allowed.
Well, but there's neighborhood commercial that are not greened because of the buffer that we put in place. So.
Would a new council could change anything? They could
let's make sure that.
But they could change anything.
Yeah.
If it's
12.
Yeah, they can make it 100. They could say we're done with buffers altogether, except for the state minimum. A council of 5, a majority of 5 can make any adjustments that they want at that time. All we can do is what's best for us right now that we can agree on.
I understand that. Is there an opportunity to come back and look at an odd property, though, that's neighborhood commercial and say, this doesn't really fit? Or
I mean, that is...
Not through this process, but just
Right.
in general.
I mean, typically, that is a property owner-driven decision, right? I mean, that's it. I mean, there are times in your general plan designation considerations where you've redesignated properties, and that's appropriate at that sort of high level. But, I mean, normally when you're speaking to the existing zoning, unless it's a city-driven project where you want to change it because of something related to the city, it's more appropriate for it to be a property owner decision. And I kind of encourage you to think more broadly about what zones you want to allow this use at this level. So
Okay. There were a lot of interesting suggestions from the people that spoke tonight, and I think the gentleman who started to talk about path of travel just would kind of like to understand more about what was meant. Maybe you understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the reference, he's back there, so you can correct me if I'm not what you're thinking about. But he was mentioning La Mesa. So in La Mesa, the 900 feet is about how you travel to the locations as opposed to a 900 foot from around the actual location itself. So there were 2 dispensaries that were approved that are geographically within like that 900 foot buffer, but you wouldn't actually, like you would walk longer than that to get to them. So I think that's what he was addressing. Door to door,
No,
yeah.
we don't do that, so we don't do that.
No, we that's not how we've applied it. But I think his suggestion was it could be considered.
So we did, and the 2 applications per property, but then, Sean, to your point, we kind of get there at the end of the process too. So maybe we don't need to say 1 per property up front.
I mean, we've specified that there's only 1 permit that can be issued per property.
Yeah.
And whether you want to sort of encourage different, as Sandy mentioned, different sort of looks at how to structure a particular property from 2 different perspectives and have them compete in a merit-based process, that's really up to you. It's a question of to get the best product out of this process.
Well, I can see if the property owner has several interested parties coming to them, and everybody understands at the end of the process it's going to be 1, that they will do a little bit of vetting on our behalf for the tenant. So that's, I think, as Councilmember McNellis would say, capitalism is great, right? It's part of the process. And then the community benefit fee is something that I know we're not talking too in-depth about today, but Councilmember McNellis and I did say there's one thing that we both felt was really important, and that a portion of a community benefit fee helps fund our portion of the SROs at West Hills and Santana. So that was really the one thing that we thought was really important. After that, we can work that out. But I think those are all my comments. I agree with the manufacturing. At the beginning of the process, didn't know where I really stood on that, but talking it through, I agree with Councilmember McNellis on that point as well. Those are my comments.
Ron?
Well, you guys did a really good job, by the way. I was happy I didn't have to do this. But so congratulations on what you did. I think it really came across. I'm in agreement with him. Neighborhood zones or whatever, we need to look at that. The one thing that kept but what I would like to see is if we do something like that, let's make sure and notify the neighbors, that because there is houses behind there. When you look closely there's a whole new housing development behind there. Right. So you can say it's hidden, but they're going to have to drive by that shop every day of their life to get to their house. And their kids are going to have to go by there. So it's really important that we look at that too. But that being said, I have no problem with, looking at neighborhood commercial zones if we need to. The couple questions I had were, as usual, off the wall. The sheriff's, are you guys going to have access to their cameras, Mike?
Oh, I don't.
Okay. I know that we have that new program we just put in, where you could either access it voluntarily or you can come back after the fact. I would like to see if we could put that into the suggestions as we're doing it, that if there's any kind of problems that we can actually access it, the sheriff's department can access it. So that would be something to look at.
We do allow for that within the ordinance. It's up to the discretion of the sheriff's department.
Okay.
Yes.
But it is a program that we've started, and so we could go ahead and do that. Frankly, I'd like to put the license plate reading cameras near them too, frankly, because they're going to be going out of town. Lakeside, if we did choose that location, is right there. I would like to have some look into maybe putting some of those, what are they, flock cameras around them. That would be something we'd want to look at. We did take a tour on that and went over and looked at El Cajones, and they look like they're really pretty good, and they're getting a lot of results off them too, so that would be something. Just security to me is the most important part if we're going to do this. Let's make sure that the security plan is good, and I don't want any problems in any of them. And if they do, I want to make sure we have a way to, this is for Sean, I want to make sure that if there are problems like more than 3 a year, that they better have an answer where you're going to shut them down.
And before I go to you, Dustin, I just want to say, I think most of the shops that have cameras, they're always going to give access. If I look around the room, is that probably, okay. Yeah, just like a 7-Eleven. I've never seen a 7-Eleven say, no, you can't have my footage. So, get Dustin.
Yeah, and that's part of being a good retailer and a good business. You know, like you said, 7-Eleven, liquor stores, things like that that have cameras. They're going to provide that to law enforcement issues and stuff. All right, so I got a couple questions here because it's obviously the first time that I saw this was on Friday and diving through the weekend here. Can someone explain this merit point system to me a little bit more in depth than 1,200 and 1,600 points? How does that get rated to the customer? How does that, why do we cap it at 10? Is there a minimum level? High? I don't even know what this merit system even means at this point.
Okay, I'll sit down. I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, this
So part of the reason that we set up,
Yeah.
that's why I said, are we ready? Are we ready for this one?
We
Okay.
spent a lot of time
Yeah.
on this part.
Well, the thought was that we wanted to provide clarity within the procedures manual about how we were going to be evaluating the applications. And by having a point system and allocating a number of points to specific
All
items.
right, let me stop you for one question. I just want to get, so you guys, did you see this point system thing that all the people who spoke tonight, the 5? Did anybody have clarity on that? Okay, so I want to sort of the layman side of it here for you.
Well, I do also want to mention that the point system has been implemented by other cities, so we're not trailblazing on this one whatsoever. Really, the idea is to try and provide clarity. Maybe we didn't achieve it, but about how each of the particular items that are being submitted in the application will be reviewed by staff and how many points they will be given based off of their responses. And we weighted them per the direction of the subcommittee about what we felt would be the most important components of the application for our city. But again, we're bringing this to you. So if you feel like the system isn't clear or that we should weigh it differently, that's what we're here to hear.
Councilmember, can I add a little
Yes,
bit?
please.
Because I think a couple other points that were developed in the process that I think are important is, I mean, this is really, it's just a vetting process to get to your decision making, right? So that the points, the first level of points are very just ministerial. Like, did they submit the application?
Phase 1, I understand.
Yeah,
That I understand.
And then even in phase 2, it's one person will be scoring those things to make sure that basically if someone completely, absolutely blows it, right, they might drop out. But I think most applicants, it's assumed, will submit a complete application, will have everything, and they'll kind of continue to move through the process. And then the third phase is designed to allow this interview committee to kind of dig in more, right? And so there might be more separation at that point. And then we didn't want to, based on the subcommittee's input, overwhelm the council with every applicant coming to the council and potentially having 30 applicants, and having 4 public meetings over, a long period of time. So that's where the 10 came from, is just a dividing line where, things will sort of shake out. And again, it's assumed that, most applicants will move through the process and come to you for your consideration, and that's the goal.
So, okay, so.
If I could just mention too, sorry, Councilmember Trotter, but at League of California Cities, this was one of the breakout sessions that I attended, and there were 4 steps in the process of even kind of going through the decision-making process, and the scorecard was one of them. And so we looked at examples of those scorecards, and, this is pretty standard.
Okay, so
how it's done.
let's use this one that's up here, and number 3, I guess I'm looking at now. So the proposed site plan, 250 points. Is it like 50 points because you have a parking lot, and 50 points because you have an actual building? Or you get no points because you don't have a building? Or like,
They have to have.
So
I
on
understand,
page...
but I'm asking, how do you get, what is each thing's weighted to?
And if I can help, on page 13 of the procedures manual, under proposed site plan and the 250 points, so there's 3 specific items. So you want to provide the information on the existing site, physical address, description, photos, description of how the site is used, any businesses currently operating, then provide the following items about the proposed site. So what are they going to do with it itself? The site plan, a narrative description of the proposed site improvements, including facade rehab, building expansion, parking. I'm just there's a lot, I'm not going to read it all. Visual depictions of how the proposed exterior of the cannabis business would look, and then describe how the proposed modifications and utilization of the site for cannabis retail activity would impact the public health, safety, welfare, environmental quality, and/or quality of life in the surrounding area. So when we receive a proposed site plan submittal, those are the things that we're going to be looking for, and they could receive up to 250 points based off their response to those specific items.
Okay, so I understand. I understand we've spelled out to them this is what we're looking for, but how does it weighted? How does each one of those things get a weight to it? What is the matrix? What is the?
So we will as we continue.
It's your choice. You say, oh, this is worth 200 points.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
As we continue to develop the process and as we move through the different phases, there is, as Vice Mayor Koval mentioned, there'll be there will be transparency in the process as we move forward. So that the whole point of this is everyone will know kind of how it will be done. It will be provided in advance.
We're not there yet, is what I'm hearing.
But that's normal.
Sure, that's fine. That's the answer I guess I needed.
Yeah, and
there
will be ranges. People will understand. Obviously, the committee will make its decision, and that will be subject to appeal if there is such an appeal. That there's a process there.
Yeah.
But it will be vetted more than it is here for clarity.
Okay.
So that people going into the process know.
Okay,
exactly
so that's my
Yeah.
point on the merit system here is that, to me, it's not clear on how these points, I appreciate the detail in what we're asking for, because absolutely, it's all there. And the 10, I'm not really 100% sure, because of this merit-based system, I don't know how you get to that threshold to be a one that goes ahead in the 10. That's not clear to me in this merit-based system. It's like, what threshold do you hit to move forward? It's just you're at the top of you're number one, so you move forward. You're number 10, you don't.
Let me ask this question. It might help to clarify it a little bit. Sean, would you say, or Sandy, I guess maybe, would you say this is a similar process to the way we do RFPs already? Because don't we assign points and whatnot on certain
it's
criteria?
similar, but I mean, and we have a representative from HDL who can maybe come up and provide some practical examples of this process, because this is a fairly standard process at this point in time.
Well, no, I actually don't want that right now. So.
Okay, but in general, yes, right? But this is more specific and will be more specific than an RFP process.
Well, I see starting on page 9 of in our handout here, it says Appendix A, evaluation criteria. It actually, to me, that is the anchors for each one of those areas, like we were thinking. And my guess is that, or at least I'm hoping, hoping again, that when we look at each one of these anchors in the future, there probably will be a point system that is a qualifier for, they say 400 points, but it didn't say how you get to 400. But when you start adding up the points, or it might be like our urgency housing ordinance. You get a certain number of points based on certain criteria, and then you get to it.
Right, and again, I think maybe the takeaway is yes, but we will continue to refine that and make that transparent before the interview process occurs.
Back to the address thing again, it keeps popping in my head when you guys said this. So one person said per property, one said per address. So I'm thinking about a complex, a commercial complex. You have multiple addresses within one complex, or you have A, B, C, D suite in there too. So are we talking about per property, or are we talking about per address? Because you could have 10 suites in a building that. Right.
It's per property is how the ordinance defines it.
Per property. Okay, I heard. I did. I wrote your.
I said address.
Okay.
I was referring to property.
So per property. Okay. So I just want to be clear on that there. Sandy, I think you have this information available for us. So can you bring that fee schedule slide, please? There was a question earlier about how our our estimated fees relate to the rest of the county or other state.
Yeah, back 3.
Not in your slideshow. Yeah, you know where I'm going.
Back one more. Oop.
Yes,
Sorry.
correct.
Okay.
Your graph thing.
No, it's there. Hold on a sec. It should be right there. From current slide. Can you see that? Oh, wait, it's coming up. Oh, it was an animation. I was like, why is it? It's right there. That's what you're looking for?
Yes, so annual permit fee was what for Santee? I apologize, I don't have it in front of me now. Projected?
Yeah, I'll get it for you.
No, there was 4 different items on that that added up to that.
Yeah, for ours, so the annual permit fee is related to what we've been calling
28
the
to 30,000,
ambulatory.
right?
Yeah, the 28 to 30.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, so the right side of the slide, the application fee, we were estimating between 17,000 to 20,000.
Okay. That's why I wanted to see kind of where that in comparison to these other
Sure.
jurisdictions were.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I had it in case you wanted it.
So similar to, I guess, where are we at? Chula
Well, they're
Vista.
making some bank up there in,
Yeah, San Jose has got a heck of a fee, huh? So somewhere a little bit less than Chula Vista within our county, and I guess about same on the other side too, huh?
Council member, just so you know, we're determining the final proposed fees based off of the time that we believe it's going to take staff to process it. So it will be based off of, we think it's going to be about a half an hour of this person's time. So it's not going to be that we're picking even a medium. We're going to say probably between finance and planning and building, this is how long we think it's going to take. We're probably going to need some city attorney time. So once we add that up, that's how we're going to make the recommendation of the fees. But we did want to do a best practices sort of research on what the other fees are being charged.
And that's completely fair when you cover our time and our associated cost to doing it. I just kind of wanted to see where we are in comparison to the rest of the county or a lot of other agencies in the state here.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah,
Do we know where La Mesa is?
I can get it for you. I don't have it on here though. I will note too, it changes frequently. So I know La Mesa's did increase with their new budget.
All right, so there's a couple questions in here. First one's really a state law one, the buffering, so that's not really even something for us to answer at this point. Second was the manufacturing. I don't really have a problem with it being manufacturing standing alone there. And then the third one was the neighborhood commercial, and I was against the neighborhood commercial when we wrote this, and I still am. I don't see the benefit of where we're going to looking at the whole city here. So just throwing it out there.
all right, anybody else?
So to do exactly what Councilmember Trotter just did. So for manufacturing, I'm in. I would still like to reiterate that if there's something we can do with the financials for the for creditors, suppliers, whatever, that's added back in, and that I am in favor of neighborhood commercial, given the buffers that are already in existence, to be able to add neighborhood commercial in there, because the net result is it's really those 3 properties that don't have any housing around them, really. So it doesn't negate the buffers that are already there in all the other neighborhood commercial areas. So that's it.
Okay, Sean, if we wanted to include the neighborhood commercial, that would require a ordinance change, right?
Yes, and same with manufacturing. And just to kind of, what I'm hearing might be we bring back those in earlier January if we're able to. We need, with neighborhood commercial, in particular, we may need to look at the CEQA analysis, but I guess we'd be looking for direction on if you wish neighborhood commercial to come back, because I'm hearing 3 supporting and considering manufacturing. So, but I've heard 2 on neighborhood commercial.
Well, I think I'm hearing that there's a majority that would like to look at that. Okay. And so if we can get all the work done on that, and so that we can make a decision in January, because I know that's going to take time, because it's going to take 2 readings, and or if we need to do CEQA or anything else, we don't want to kick this can any further down the road than we have to, because we need people that are looking to get into business, and we don't want to hinder that any longer than we have to. So if you could do that, then you can do that just by consensus here, right?
That's right. So, I mean,
Okay.
basically to summarize, we'll bring back manufacturing and neighborhood commercial for your consideration, and we'll do that separate from these other issues, just so you can have that policy discussion and have it teed up. But then I think we'll work together on a lot of other good ideas that have come out of this, like the credit assessment issue. We can give you more information on path of travel issues. We can, the point system methodology, provide more detail on the two applications, those kinds of things. We can do that separately, but more immediate, we'll bring back those policy questions to you.
Yeah, something I also would like to look at, when we bring this, make that council meeting maybe partially a workshop, because obviously this takes a lot of time and a lot of discussion. I like hearing from the input from the community and people that are also in the business, because they're the ones that are seeing some of these things that, regardless of how hard our committee worked, they know about some things that we obviously haven't seen before.
Agreed, and that's
so
we
that
love
way
the
we're
input.
not going to be here with 30 items on the agenda.
Yep.
So I guess that's more for the city manager than it is for the city attorney.
Right, so we would bring back a workshop on those two particular items, maybe some sample wording for you to look at so you can give us direction, but it would not be for an action to change the ordinance
Right.
until a following meeting after a workshop.
Right.
If you want to
Got
go
that.
there. Okay, thank you.
Does that work for you guys? All right, thank you.
I just want to make sure parking's part of that too, so I'd like to actually see if you put it in the point section.
All those issues that have come up today, we will consider and make sure we bring back when we bring back the procedures.
All right, thank you. I guess we can move on now. Thanks, everybody, for your time and patience for tonight. Okay, that's going to take us to item number 16, American Rescue Plan Act Expenditure Plan Update and Resolution amending the fiscal year 2023-24 operating budget by appropriating funds to the FY 2023-24 General Fund Public Services Department and authorizing the transfer of ARPA funds to the general fund to fund the Human Services and Open Space Coordinator through December 31st, 2024. Heather.
Oh, that was a lot to say.
Yeah, it was a mouthful.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor and Madam Vice Mayor and City Council members. This is the American Rescue Plan Act expenditure update. So our original ARPA allocation, $7.3 million, we received. We were fortunate in that we could categorize it all as revenue or lost revenue replacement. That allowed us a lot of flexibility in how and what we could spend the funds on. This pie chart right here shows the distribution of funds. This includes some proposed new items that we'll discuss later in the presentation, but it shows that the city was able to address a variety of current and long-term priorities. So where are we today with ARPA spending? We have completed projects of about $1.4 million. We've got $4.1 million of projects that are in progress and $1.5 million of projects that are approved but just haven't yet started. And proposed projects of $600,000 that we'll discuss later. ARPA funding deadlines, funds need to be committed by December 31st, 2024 and spent by December 31st, 2026. And what committed means is basically contractually, they're in a contract and contractually, I can't think of the word, in a contract. Contractually obligated. Our completed projects, here's a list of what we've completed so far. We have some CIP projects. We had staffing for the intergov implementation. some support to nonprofits, and support to the inaugural Brews and Bites. Our projects that are in process, we've got some IT CIP projects, a community center parking lot, some storm drain and CMP projects, pavement, fire station improvements. We were able to paint Fire Station 5 and improve the flooring. Homelessness support, this is in conjunction with the CDBG CV, where we've hired East County, oh my gosh. Yes, East County Traditional.
ECTLC.
Thank you. It's past my bedtime. And PATH to help with the homeless situation. And then Alpha Project, they are assisting the city in clearing up the riverbed with abandoned encampments. Our projects that are approved but not yet started, we're at 1.5 million. The San Diego River Hazard Mitigation Grant, our matching portion is ARPA funded. Homeless regional support, we still have about $329,000 left in this category, and the temporary fire station at $500,000. So our categories for new proposed project include business support of $300,000. This is $260,000, which would bring new businesses to the Town Center Arts and Entertainment District and provide economic development support to businesses throughout Santee. There's a $40,000 contribution to Empower East County Business Fund project. This is a partnership with other East County cities and organizations to provide matching component for a U.S. Economic Development Administration grant. This project would create a revolving loan fund to provide low-interest loans for small businesses in East County that may face barriers in accessing traditional financing due to high interest rates or more stringent lending requirements. Funds could potentially be used for equipment purchases, startup costs, business reinvestment, hiring, and expansion. And the second part of the proposed allocations is $306,000 for homelessness activities. We've got $150,000 for homelessness service providers. This includes East County Transitional Living Center and PATH. This would be a funding bridge until a more permanent solution can be developed through the budget process next year. $56,600 for Human Services and Open Space Coordinator. This position would be a new position and would coordinate encampment abatement activities and work with local law enforcement, participating agencies, private contractors for required noticing and coordination of abandoned encampment removal, et cetera. We are requesting funding for 12 months, and this would be a part-time benefited position. And finally, $100,000 for Alpha Project. As mentioned earlier, they assist the city with clearing out the abandoned encampments on the San Diego River. So staff's recommendation is to adopt an updated ARPA expenditure plan reflecting any adjustments as directed by the City Council and allow the city manager to adjust funding allocations as needed, consistent with the City Council stated priorities, and authorize an increase to the fiscal year 2023-24 operating budget to fund the Human Services and Open Space Coordinator through the remainder of the fiscal year. And that's the end of the presentation.
Thank you. Speaker slips?
We have one speaker, sir. Truth?
All right, so we had the final rule allowing the city to presume its entire ARPA allocation, over $7.3 million, as lost public sector revenue, and thus benefiting the city because they could just spend the money however they want instead of what they were supposed to be spending it on. Does anyone remember why this money was distributed in the first place? Rescuing America. Remember that deadly virus we almost all died from? Yeah, we're still here. And that money's still here too. And it's got to be spent by next year because the emergency's going to end. The fraudulent emergency that should have never been declared in the first place. And so it all sounds great. You know, you got money shuffling or a transfer, as the government calls it, of the American Ruination Plan Act debt dollars for Human Services Open Space Coordinator for over $30,000 to address encampments. And you had master drainage, technology, consultants, improvements, Sandstone Drive, Woodpecker Way, CMP, nonprofits, Brews and Bites, cybersecurity, broadband, fiber optics, a parking lot, storm drain, pavement repair, a fire station, homeless support, Alpha Project, river hazard mitigation, which the city is still waiting for confirmation from FEMA. And no one's going to get that reimbursement on time so far from what I've seen. And then a temporary fire station. Just some of the things. We got more business, arts and entertainment, more homeless abatement. What a nice word for sweeps. And all that stuff, you could argue, oh, well, that's helping. That's rescuing America. Not really, because when you look at the original intention, this has nothing to do with it. And am I blaming the city for taking that money that seems free? No. You should definitely use it. If you're going to get it, you might as well use it for something positive. But the whole thing is a scam to begin with. They had no right to distribute this money in the first place. They had no right to create inflation and put this country in eternal debt. They've given states, counties, cities, and people the wrong idea that money and projects are free. Free rent, free all this other stuff I just listed. And it also has it's really ruined the morals and ethics. Because for me, and it did happen, I guess, we all were, most of us were given checks. Do you want the check? It's free money, however much it was. I would never accept it. I don't care how much it is. I'll send it right back because I'm not going to contribute to any of this fraud. And then it makes me wonder, how is the city of Santee, all these other cities across this whole country going to survive when you no longer have any of this money? And I know that's a serious problem for every city that's trying to address it right now. Because all of this money that came from nowhere was not from taxes. It was printed from the Federal Reserve with interest, and that's why we have debt. That's why we have inflation.
No further speakers.
Council? Laura?
Yeah, I really like to see the new business development or new business support portion of this in here. So that is exciting to me, and I did talk to our city manager about a few ideas I had around that. We don't have to talk about it here, but one of the things that just struck me very odd is to hear, I think the things that we are allocating dollars to make sense for the city of Santee. Prior to COVID, those are the things that were on our agenda to fix. We had those problems before 2020 and obviously after. And so the restrictions on ARPA funding or how you spend it, I remember when the funds first came out, it was very like, whew, the accounting alone, I don't know who would even be able to track that at a federal level. But they just said, well, look, it's lost revenue recovery, so you guys figure it out at each jurisdiction. And then I heard a county supervisor say, well, for this border issue, we're spending, look, we're going to use ARPA funds for that, so we're spending federal dollars to solve the federal problem. And I'm like thinking, well, that's a new federal problem that the citizens of San Diego County shouldn't be funding. And it's our tax, whether it comes from the federal government or state government or local government, they're all our taxes. You know, we pay the federal government, we pay state, and we pay local. And I just thought that was a illogical statement to make regarding how they're using another $3 million to deal with the influx of illegal immigration across the border. So that's all my comment, but I like the plan.
Anybody else?
Chief Matsuda, what's an update on the FEMA grant match? Any?
We had a request for additional information that we submitted last month. It is received, and as of right now, we're still under consideration. The fact that we were asked for additional information was a good thing from our Cal OES representatives, stating that if we're still in the process, then we have a very good chance of success. It's just a slow process.
And Mr. Rinsberry, how much money have we spent with Alpha Project this year?
Approximately $50,000.
Okay, so this will give you double the budget, or 3 times the budget, I guess, for this year.
Yes, sir.
Will it get through the year?
Can I answer that?
He's like, yes, please.
So when they come out, when Alpha Project comes out, it's about $2,000 per time. So that would take us through 50 weeks. So it would take us through to the end of December 2024, so
Okay.
once a week.
So a whole nother calendar year, basically, can get us there. That's good. And then the Human Services and Open Space Coordinator, that will be helpful for your department?
Absolutely. It's a very time-consuming job that it's going to free up our public works supervisor's time. And if we get this person, if you approve it, this person would have to post the camps, coordinate with the sheriffs, catalog everything, do everything that we legally have to do to abate a homeless camp. So it would free up our guys' time to do other things throughout the city.
Are you getting any help from the county that we were promised?
No, sir.
Okay, motion approved.
I have a motion and a second. I'm just going to hold any comments I had because it's not going to get any better. Please vote.
Councilmember, motion carries unanimously.
All right, that takes us to item number 17, resolution authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with COAR, Core Design Group for architectural, engineering, landscape, architectural, and environmental design services for the Phase 1A new fire station at the City Operations Center. And Chief.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, for a few more minutes, and esteemed members of the council. As stated by the mayor, this is a resolution authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with CORE. And to summarize it, this is the fire station design RFP award. As a reminder, fire station, this third fire station will be designated as Fire Station 20. We claimed that number years and years ago for the zone, and I confirmed just a few weeks ago that that number is still designated ours. So this station will be Station 20. So I'll be referring to it as a Station 20 location. And just as a refresher, this is going to be co-located at our current operations yard in this area right here that's outlined by the red. And as you can see, the site offers some unique challenges because it does need to maintain operations for our public services division. This will also be the location where we're putting our temporary fire station. So there's some unique needs that need to be met. The selection criteria included essentially these 4 components, which was expertise of the company, which every company that submitted did have some expertise, some experience in fire station construction. An understanding of the site constraints that I just mentioned, the cost element, which I'll share with you in a little bit, was a pretty wide range, but then also a shared vision. And I'll explain the shared vision, which started out with a pre-site walk where we had 20 firms show up. This was a mandatory meeting where myself, members of engineering, we talked about some of the unique constraints of this project, where we wanted the footprint to be, the fact that it needed to remain operational, and there was some no-go things that we expressed at that meeting, which was we can't cut into or blow out our existing operations center. That's kind of a no-go. We want to maintain access from the eastern side of the lot, and that's our preference. So we had 8 proposals that were pretty thick proposals, a lot of information to read. And based on that criteria from the previous slide, we narrowed it down to 4 firms. And then from there, we did an interview in this room, which consisted of myself, Deputy Chief Bagley, 2 members from engineering, and then we also brought in 2 outside fire chiefs that had some very recent experience with fire station construction from other agencies. The submitted proposals had a range from $954,000 and change up to $1.7 million. The average, $1.23 million, and Corps' proposal came in at just under $2 million. I'll share with you some slides from Corps and why we selected them. This was a firm that had very recent experience in some projects around the county of San Diego. And their reputation was stellar from people that we asked that they knew of them prior to our interview process. These are some pictures that they shared. They had over 100 fire stations under their belt. And in addition, more importantly, as we've stated, in addition to them having the experience, was them understanding the unique requirements of this project. We needed to maintain operations for our PSD yard. We needed them to understand that there was a finite amount of space. We need to maintain turning radiuses and access from the eastern portion of the operations yard. And so they proposed 3 different concepts. By no means are we married to these 3, but the fact that they proposed 3, all understanding the unique needs of maintaining a minimal impact to the ops yard. I'm going to review the fire station funding. We initially had $1.1 million that was allocated for the rebuild of Station 4, and that was sitting in an account from 22-23, and I believe that was actually sitting there from a previous budget fiscal year as well. And during this fiscal year budget development cycle, we broke out $700,000 for the design of Station 4 and $400,000 for the design of a shop. We called them 1A and 1B. We took 25% of the funds for this project from our EMS fund or our SLMSA fund. And why 25%? We have used this as a historic standard within the fire department for decades. We do a cost allocation or cost breakdown between our what we call operations and also our EMS fund. And we do a 75-25% split for really almost everything. And that's why for me, I have 2 budgets, 2203, 2202, because we have a portion that's funded from our EMS, our paramedic service, and a portion that's funded through our regular general fund. And a quarter of our workforce essentially are tasked with staffing our ambulances. Now, for this station, there will be at least 2 of the 5 total people, so 40% will be paramedics on an ambulance. So we felt that this was actually a conservative number based upon use. We were just going to stick with the historic percentage, if that makes sense. But that did leave a need for some reallocation of money. As I mentioned, we had $1.1 million initially between 2 projects, and we need $1.2 million plus $120,000 for a contingency fund. So the proposal, the recommendation from staff is authorizing the city manager to execute the professional services and enter into this contract with Corps for $1.195 million, authorizing the authorization of 10% contingency funds, which is approximately $120,000, approving a transfer of the general fund from that fleet maintenance project, which was the shop. Remember, that was $400,000 from that. We're going to need $286,000 be reappropriated from the shop design towards this project. And then, as mentioned, the 25% from the EMS fund, which is $328,750. And we do have a representative from Corps here, Matt, in case there's any questions that come up, and obviously I'm available for questions as well.
Speakers?
No speakers, sir.
Thank you, Dustin.
Chief, couple things, looking through the proposal here. I see here the professional service agreements for a term of 2 years to complete the design. That sounds like a heck of a time, so I look at you, sir, I see your core jacket there. So 2 years for design seems like a long time. Hopefully, that's just for the agreement term, I guess.
It is, and Corps' proposal has a timeline that is far ahead of that.
Okay.
But during the construction process, correct me if I'm wrong, Stu, if I misstate anything. During the construction process, we are still going to maintain a contract with Corps to help during the construction process to make sure that their architectural design is actually being adhered to by the contractor.
Sure.
And then additionally, I should have spoke to this initially. Engineering had a great idea of embedding this 8-year total term of the contract, which allow us to retain core services for a total of 8 years, so we could then, just through the reappropriation of money, continue to use core through change orders, is that what we call them, and move on to the other projects. 1B, which would be the shop, Fire Station 4, a 4th fire station, without having to go through the whole RFP process.
Would these be amendments to the contract then, Steve, or?
Correct. The RFP was written so as we did the analysis for the design contractor would be to get a firm that was qualified to not only do fire stations but also fleet maintenance to meet all of the fire department goals. So when we did the analysis and the review of all proposals, we looked at them based on fire station experience and also on fleet maintenance. And so the contract is written in a way that it's a 2-year initial contract to complete all design and environmental, which is why the design of the station can go very quickly, but we also have to make sure there's enough time to get through CEQA process as well. They complete the design, and if down the road there's more funding available to proceed forward with the 1B project, which would be the fire fleet maintenance or potentially other fire stations, it gives the option for the council to award additional amendment or approve additional amendments to add each different sequence down the road to achieve those goals with one design firm that can kind of maintain consistency for all of these projects down the road.
That's pretty cool, actually. So, and actually, I want to go back to the 1B, though, because that's really where I understand, obviously, future other projects that are, but the 1B part of it, the fleet, is on the same site, right? So, did we get a proposal for the 1B from Corps yet, by chance, or?
We have not. What was discussed with Corps during the interview is when they go to do the survey work of the site, survey is going to capture the whole area. So there would be a potential cost savings for when 1B would move forward in design, where some of the design service work that's being completed now could be utilized for the phase 1B
Okay,
design.
I mean, you would think, because it's on the same site, right? And that's what I'm kind of getting to here. Even though it's 2 separate projects, it's on the same site. So are we utilizing all their time services to, get it? And I'm sure we are. I'm just kind of recapping here, I guess.
Correct. For a project like this, they're going to do a complete design survey of the sites. They're going to see what's available for water, sewer, telecom, everything that's in the street, and plan accordingly to not only get ready for the design for the phase 1A fire station, but we would know what we would also be needed for the phase 1B.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't call it economy of scale, but it kind of, you're already there working. You don't want to have to bring them back to do, another thing later if we can. There should be, a better value of their time, I guess, is what I'm kind of looking at. So I don't know if we can get a proposal for the 1B and just have it brought back to us in the future. And we're only approving, obviously, the 1A, or, the RFP for the design of the fire station. But I think we should know what the related cost is, at least for the fleet, because it is associated with the same site.
Councilmember Trotter, I will spend all the money that you authorize me to spend.
Motion approved.
How much? Laura?
Well, Chief, I just want to thank you for actually working with, I shouldn't say actually, but for working with the engineering department on this as well. So I feel like we're getting a fuller picture of potential costs.
Engineering has been incredible. They have been holding our hands through this process. They're the experts. Steve has come up with some amazing ideas that we would never have thought of. This is outside of our wheelhouse. It's pretty cool. I mean, this,
Was that
I
just
remember.
more outlets?
Fire stations take a lot of outlets, sir.
They've been great collaborators
And I can
and
tell
mentors.
by, what we're seeing in front of us that you guys worked really well together. And I like the approach that you're taking. I think it's very smart. And you're right, when the architect is getting underneath the soil and telling you what you actually have down there, it's really valuable to just do it one time, and then we could possibly move more quickly on other things at the right time. So I'll second if somebody hasn't already. Oh, never mind.
We have a motion.
I'll third it.
And a second. I have a quick question, though, Steve. You know what? When via Zapador and all that stuff, the freeways going through was all redone and everything, shouldn't there be some kind of documentation on what's under the ground already?
We have documentation for the roadway and from Caltrans. The issue at hand is we have to use latest and greatest geotechnical studies and reports just because groundwater fluctuations or whatnot change. So the last geotechnical report done on the site was the construction of the actual operations center, which was back in 2007. And so in compliance with building code, we have to have an updated soils report. It should be consistent with what we saw in the past with some maybe minor fluctuations in groundwater.
It just didn't seem like that long ago.
No, sure it does not.
Okay, great. I have a motion, I have a second. Let's please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add a brief comment. Thank you very much for your support on this project. I know that our team is going to continue to work very hard with CORE to make this come to pass. But one of the questions that council has asked in the past is this came from the AP Triton report that analyzed everything that we needed to do to bring our fire service up to standards that all of you would be proud of, and we'd have a positive public safety image here in our community and services. So based upon your direction, there's a lot of discussion here about the cost of future facilities, the cost of the fleet maintenance shop, the cost of the next, what's it going to cost to really finish this station and the redesign of Station 4, et cetera. So we have engaged a firm to provide us that information. The city is moving forward with that. I do anticipate that report should come in hopefully the end of this week, but perhaps we'll say before the holiday. And if that does come in, I will provide you a copy of that. The chief and I have discussed that we would bring that forward for public discussion at sometime in January or February when we bring forward the new plans for hopefully your approval for the temporary fire station. And I just want to make sure that that's on the record, that report will be out, and when I send it to you, you'll have a chance to review it in advance. So thank you.
Great, thank you. That takes us to item number 18, which is proposed new service rates for the waste management franchise agreement for solid waste services. You need to bring that microphone a little bit closer.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and staff. It's my pleasure to introduce Christine Costa with Waste Management to discuss the matter before you of the annual rate adjustment. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello. Good evening, Honorable Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I think we need a 30-minute recess.
It's not
think you might
10:30
be
yet.
right.
It's not time. Okay. Thanks. Honorable Mayor, Madam Vice Chair, Mayor, City Council and staff, thank you for the opportunity to come before you guys tonight to talk about our annual rate adjustment. As you are aware, our contract allows for an annual rate adjustment using the changes in the CPI index for all urban consumers from the current September to the previous September. And so this year, that CPI percent change for September 2022 to 2023 was 4.69%. Our current agreement includes a 4% rate cap. Anything over 4%, we get 70% of. And so this year, our 2024 annual CPI adjustment to the current service rates will be 4.48%. Again, it's contractually allowed in our contract, and again, reflects the changes in the CPI change for the San Diego region. In addition to the annual CPI adjustment, our contract includes an extraordinary rate adjustment clause. It's section 8.3.3. And this adjustment is allowed to service rates to reflect increased costs of services for a variety of reasons, including an unforeseen event or circumstance, which is beyond the city's control or waste management's control, an event or circumstance that's not a usual business risk. It's necessary for waste management to make substantial changes in our operations or capital investments, changes to operations applicable by law, and increased fees for disposal or processing of solid waste or recycling. While we have not needed to exercise this adjustment clause in the many years servicing the great city of Santee, our recent collective bargaining agreement negotiations has led to considerable increases to our operating costs. In addition to our rate adjustment, we would like to request the addition of a trip charge to our current rate sheet. This is a standard industry charge, and it's charged when our team is unable to complete a service on the roll-off containers for reasons such as a blocked container, a locked gate, for any reason that we can't service after the customer has requested it, and it results in lost operational time. And so, again, it's a standard industry rate, and it's not on our rate sheet, but last year we had 144 instances where our drivers were dispatched out to a site, and for whatever reason, it was locked. The customer had gone home for the day. They were unable to complete that service, and so this fee will help us offset that
Is that the $275 one?
Yes,
Okay,
lost
so
operational time, correct.
If I can break in on that real quick.
Yeah.
I'm totally against this. The 275, how do you come up with that figure?
For the open market, it's $335 for open market, and it's driver time and just the lost operational time to and from, because we dispatch the truck out there and then we have to come back and reevaluate and go out to the next stop.
And again,
so
that's a special rate that they're for business only?
roll-off customers. It's only roll-off customers. And these are services that the customer is requesting, and then for whatever reason, we show up and then we're unable to complete it.
So what I've had in the past when I've dealt with these things is a truck will pull up and park in front of that dumpster, and the driver will look at it and go, nope, I'm out of here, bye. How do you, or just like you said, maybe they've gone home, because do you tell them we'll be here between 8 and 5, and the guy shows up at 6:30?
Yeah, we do give them a window of time, and they can call us during the day and get an ETA. If most of them will give us our hours of operations, and so we have that information in our system. And if we show up and it's not like a small truck, it would be like a crane or something really large where we cannot get around that obstacle. And so we contact the customer via the phone. If we can't get a hold of them, we stand by for about 15 minutes. If we can't get the object out of the way, then we have to move on and go to the next customer.
What if it's not their fault?
It's not a trip charge. I mean,
I'm just trying to get a clarification.
yeah. This would be something the
that
customer initiated. We dispatch, we show up, we can't get it done. We've waited around 15, 20 minutes. We've called. Usually they'll email me to try to get a hold of somebody, on site. And if we can't do that, then we have to move on to the next customer to ensure that we get everybody serviced that day.
Okay, but again, same thing goes, is where does that, who decides that, I guess is my question. Is it because, we came there and it's, I can understand 6 o'clock and you came there and the guy's not there.
Yeah.
He went home because he wanted to get out of there early.
Right.
Okay, but if there's circumstances that are beyond his control.
Yeah, obviously we work with people. If it's,
and that's what I want to make sure.
Yeah, if somebody calls and says I had a family emergency or something like that, we would work with them on that. This is just for the instances where, the gate's locked. They told us to come out there between these times, and, we showed up within that window and it's locked or it's blocked or something, and we cannot get that obstacle out of the way, then we would assess that charge.
And they have no control over that then, right?
No. Yeah. All right. So that is the trip charge there. So this past summer, our WM team and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 683, successfully renegotiated our collective bargaining agreement. During our negotiations, the drivers continued to provide the essential collection services to all the residents and businesses avoiding any potential work stoppages, strikes, or labor unrest. Having recently witnessed similar negotiations in our industry and our region, we knew we had to make every good faith effort during these negotiations to provide our drivers with fair, equitable wages and benefits. Some of the enhancements to the CBA agreement include increased vacation, increased stipend for work boots and tools for mechanics, increases in healthcare and pension contributions, but the largest driving factor was a 14.55 increase in the wages, which equates to an increase of $4.26 per hour for regular pay and another $6.39 for the overtime pay. We knew wage increases were imperative to retain and attract professional, safe drivers, remain competitive in the industry, and to ensure the city's waste, recycling, and organics collection services continued without any delays or unrest. This increase in labor cost has increased our overall operating cost on this contract by approximately $201,000 a year. Therefore, I'm here this evening to seek Council's consideration and approval for the extraordinary rate increase of 1.6%, in addition to our annual permissive CPI. The impact of this extraordinary rate increase to the residents is 33 cents a month and 99 cents per bill cycle, or every 3 months. This extraordinary rate increase will allow our team to continue providing exceptional solid waste and recycling services, along with continued in-kind financial community support and enhanced services. And since I'm here, I wanted to remind the public about our enhanced services that are part of the standard scope of service, such as our senior citizen discount rate. If you qualify and are over the age of 65 years or older, you qualify for our senior discount rate, and that can be taken care of through our call center with proof of ID. We also offer bulk item pickups 4 times a year, up to 6 items for large items such as appliances, mattresses, box springs, TVs, anything that won't fit in that container. Those can be scheduled through our call center or through our WM app. Residents can obtain an extra recycle or organics recycling cart at no additional charge with your service. We offer 2 annual community cleanup and shred events where we invite the Santee residents, any Santee residents, to come clean out your garages and get rid of your shredding, and we'll offload it and take care of it for you for no charge. We offer battery, bulb, e-waste, sharps disposal, all available to our Santee residents Monday through Saturday, no additional charge at our facility. Household hazardous waste appointments are also available, where residents can get rid of household hazardous waste every Saturday, must have an appointment, free of charge. And then we also offer used motor oil and filter pickup with your curbside service. Just need to call our call center, let us know you have it, and we'll pick it up. All this information is on our website, wm.com, or you can call our call center, 619-596-5100. In closing, I want to say thank you on behalf of the entire Waste Management family for the opportunity to serve this great city and for your consideration here tonight. We have built strong bonds with your residents and businesses over the years, and I wanted to take a quick moment to share a very special one that I was fortunate enough to witness and be a part of about a week and a half ago. This is Bradley Forston. He lives in the Sky Ranch community. He turned 6 years old on December 4th, and his mom asked him, "What do you want to do for your birthday? Do you want to go to SeaWorld? Do you want to go to Legoland, Disneyland? What do you want to do?" And his reply was, "I want to go to WM, and I want to sit in the break room with Mr. Juan, Mr. Willie, and Don Poncho and have lunch with them for my birthday." And so I got a call from his mom, Melissa, and with the help of him and our team, we made that wish come true. And so that's all he wanted. And the drivers knew exactly who we were talking about. They came in off their routes, and it was evident that these guys shared a special bond. Abundantly clear, our drivers are providing more than just trash and recycling collection services. They're making personal connections and impacting your residents every single day in invaluable ways. Here's a quick video of that connection that we were able to witness a couple weeks ago. It was great. We got to spend the whole hour, and these kids would not let these drivers go back to work. We had to break them off and say, okay, they have to go pick up the rest of the trash now. But they knew everything about them, their kids' names, their birthdays, where they were, their truck numbers, everything. And so it's really cool to see that these kids have such a connection with your drivers out there. So I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to present this evening and for your consideration of our extraordinary rate increase. We are proud of our successful labor negotiations that will continue to provide these essential workers with industry-leading wages and benefits. And we appreciate the trust and confidence that you all place in us each and every day and look forward to continuing to serve the great city of Santee. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions you have. Thanks.
Thank you. So go to public speakers.
Truth?
That wonderful video, that just made me want to pay higher rates. That's all I felt from it. And you know, this is where inflation caused by fraudulent actions such as ARPA rear their ugly, expensive heads. Let's see, you had Waste Management get that negotiation of collective bargaining agreement with Local 683 International Brotherhood of Teamsters, which resulted in a 14.55% increase in labor rates. And Waste Management's got to cover it with an extraordinary adjustment of 1.61%, plus a CPI rate adjustment of 4.48%, plus the addition of a roll-off trip charge of $275 per incident. And let's see, I'm going to argue that trip charge is more than extraordinary. It's actually exorbitant. That's crazy. And the next time somebody thinks increased wages is going to help inflation, remember, every instance you pay more for food, water, trash, and everything else. There's no such thing as catching up to inflation. There's getting your spending in control. And increasing the wages is the opposite. Sorry to tell you. Now, this is important. On Exhibit B, I found an error. It says, additional refuse cart. One additional green waste and or recycling cart will be free of charge. After each additional one will be charged. You got to take off that D. It's very important. And I really spoke because somebody, I guess one person out of, I don't remember how many people in the city, 60-something thousand, I think, needed to say that these rate increases are garbage. Thank you.
No further speakers.
That's right up there with trash talk, isn't it? I like it. All right, Ron, did you still want to speak?
Well, I think I said it. I agree with extraordinary charges. It's just that it's too much. I think you need to work your way up, and I just think it's $275 is ridiculous. So I'm going to be voting against it.
I don't think it is because this is at the customer request to come out for an extra trip. And then the driver can't complete that. And, you know, Waste Management is willing, you know, look, they're working with the customers. They're coming out because the customer had, you know, maybe it's a commercial property and their dumpster's full because they are doing construction. I don't know what the situation is. But, yeah, you can't waste somebody's time or company's time and take trucks out of the route. And I just remember when, you know, there was a kind of a few months where Waste Management was understaffed, and maybe it was COVID related, but I heard more about not having enough, you know, having to miss routes or not having the trash picked up. And thank God we didn't go through what the city of San Diego went through, because my daughter lived in Claremont.
Chula Vista National City.
Oh, was it Chula Vista National City?
What was your public services?
Okay,
was the issue, so.
And my daughter lived in Claremont, and their dumpsters were disgusting. So I think it's very reasonable, that part, and we do. Every business wants to retain employees, and so motion to approve staff recommendation.
Ms. Costa, can you come back up? How long is the term for the CBA agreement?
5 years, so 2028.
Okay. And our current franchise agreement's until 2030.
Correct.
So I do want to actually thank you and appreciate that with your 14.5% increase you guys are taking. 6% is a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's not, it's obviously a lot less than you could have done with the inflation that we are faced with in the community and around
Yeah.
here. So thank you for that.
Thank you. The extraordinary, just a quick comment, the extraordinary combined with the CPI this year is actually less than what the CPI was complete last year. It was 6.94, so it's just a little bit less, but yeah, it's to cover those costs, so thank you.
I just want to echo what you're saying about the extraordinary costs of the truck coming out.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it the reverse. Like when I go to the doctor and they make me sit in their waiting room for an hour, I want to charge him. So I can see why if you're going to make me sit around, wait after you've already made an appointment with me, why you'd want to charge me for it if you're not there. So
It
kinda get
ties
that.
up the time too. We can't service other potential customers that maybe needed that service that day. We have to push them off a day or two because, we've already had these things scheduled. And so when we show up, it's kind of disappointing because we could have serviced, potentially another customer. So,
Well, I do know how responsive your company is because I know I've called you when I've seen trash, along the roadway.
Yeah.
And they've come out and picked it up in a timely manner. It's interesting too because you show us the video and how close they get to the customers. And I don't know who the driver is on my street, to be honest with you. But I know that sometimes I'm out there waiting for him to dump the trash. And that guy is so good with that arm that comes down. He'll take and I'll push that as far out as he can so I don't have to walk any further down the driveway.
yeah.
And I appreciate that having a bad back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it too. And the residential drivers are our most senior guys. So those are the guys that have the average tenure of 33, 34 years.
But don't say senior because they don't look as old as me.
Well, you know what I meant.
Well, by the way, remind me in February I get my senior discount.
You got it.
Thanks. All right, I have a motion and a second.
For clarification, is it 62 and under or 65?
It's 65. That was a typo, sorry.
Okay. I
65.
thought I saw
So you
62
have
in
some time, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, some of us on a short line, though. Yeah, I did say that.
I'm sorry, sir, who was the second? Trotter.
Dustin Trotter. We maybe get home before midnight.
Mayor Minto, can you lock in your vote, please?
Yeah, it's not working. Oh, did that take it? Okay.
Motion carries with 4 ayes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hall voting no.
All right, then. Let's go to item number 19. We already did this one. There we go. Item number 19, resolution approving an amended salary schedule to reflect a minimum wage increase and market adjustment increase for the position of deputy fire chief, the addition of a part-time limited term benefited human services and open space coordinator, and the addition of a part-time information technology GIS technician position, and authorizing the appropriation of $8,100 to the fiscal year 2023-24 adopted operating budget. Another mouthful.
Another mouthful. Good evening.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Good night.
No speakers, sir.
No speakers. Council, any comments or questions? All right, let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
You just didn't want that jinx to happen. Okay, that was number 19. Okay, I guess we better
Yay.
get to item number 20.
Thank you.
All right. Each year, we select a mayor pro tem, also known in our city as the vice mayor, and that services to help out when I'm not there, obviously, at the council meetings or events or ceremonies and things of that nature. It is rotating, and this year I'd like to nominate Dustin Trotter to be the vice mayor. Is there a second on that? Okay. Any speaker slips?
Did this get the year right?
Speaker slips?
Yes, sir. We have one truth.
I am so disappointed. I really needed a long presentation on that last item. I don't even know what to say. I'm so confused now. I was actually expecting this item to be moved to the beginning of the agenda. I think that's usually how it works, because this is my third day in a row talking about a pro tem vice mayor, second in command, as I like to call it. San Diego, Elkona, now here. And I think I should talk really slowly so we can make it a full 3 minutes. No,
I don't think that's possible.
Are you cutting my time to 60 seconds? The Sandag 60, the MTS minute? That's a new one coming up tomorrow.
It's 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes.
Yeah, right. No, it's not. I think we could make an exception to the rule and let Laura stay vice mayor, although I heard there may be a conflict. I don't care. However, I would not mind Dustin in the role, because I know he would take it seriously, and it'd be a good mix of professional while still being human, which some people are not able to do, and that's always scary. Let's see. I was reading the roles of mayor and vice mayor. The mayor shall act as the primary spokesperson and official representative of the city council. Unless such, wait a minute, why am I reading that? Oh, well, I guess I had something to say. Unless such responsibility is delegated by the mayor or otherwise assigned by a majority of the city council. And what I found is there are actually exceptions to that. That other Mayor John McCann in Chula Vista obviously got ripped off with nobody allowing him to be the rep at Sandak like every mayor should be able to be. So I don't know, I found that to be interesting. And should I cause controversy? Why not Rob? Why not Rob as vice mayor? You could do a good job, baby. If you could keep your cool, you might be able to do it. You're still young. You've got energy. Maybe more energy than me because you don't go to as many meetings as me. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how many meetings you go to, but I go to too many. It's just so fun. I just keep talking to the mic and I have no point. But I do support Dustin. There you go. There's my point. Thank you.
Well, according to my grade, I talking to the mic with no point also. Okay, I made the motion, and I think I heard a second, right? And that was Councilmember McNellis. Please vote. Stand
Motion
by, I'm
carries
not finished
unanimously.
yet.
Security!
I don't know, that's like the poltergeist came out.
I don't know what's going on with this thing here, but I'm going to go ahead with what I'm doing here. Along with installing a new vice mayor for the next year, we say thank you to the former vice mayor for the previous year. And of course, this case, it was council member Laura Koval. And so we give you an award or little memento. I had to get the Minto name in there somewhere. City of Santee Vice Mayor for 2023, and I want to thank you very much for everything you've done to help me out. I don't know what you did, but you did a great job. All right, that takes us to the non-agenda public comment. Any speaker slips?
No, sir.
All right, that takes us to city council reports. Let's go with Ron. Nothing.
Nothing. MTS is tomorrow.
Former vice mayor?
I do not have a report.
No reports. Vice mayor?
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. We'll see you after the new year.
Councilmember McNellis. Nothing for me, sir. Great, thanks. Well, the only thing I will say is that I would have a report about the annual League Leaders Conference at the League California Cities, except I was cruising on the Mississippi and I really wasn't thinking about them. City manager.
One last thing. I'm sorry, real quick. Congratulations to our captain and his promotion. Thank you for the service that you provided to the city of Santee, and thank you for your continued support and services for the county of San Diego. I know you're going to do a great job.
Thanks, Rob, because I completely forgot, because he's so noisy over there.
If I could just say, Captain McNeil, thank you, really thank you so much, because, we complain a lot about, stuff that we want the sheriff to address. I hope you don't take it as complaining, just bringing it to your attention. But I was struck when I was driving around other communities how great things are here. So thank you for your leadership of the department while you were here.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Yeah, before I go on, do you want to say anything?
It's been a distinct honor to work here and serve with all of you and work in the greatest city in the county.
Amen.
It's been my distinct honor. Thank you very much.
We are looking at changing the position of captain for our city to commander, if you're interested.
I would be very interested in that, man. Absolutely. Yes.
All right, we'll see what we can do.
Awesome. Thank you.
City manager.
Kudos to you, and ditto from all the council comments. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
City attorney.
I do have a report.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And the timing is not appropriate.
This is like 2 this year.
I know. This is going to be good. Okay, so I do have a short presentation. It's very short, but I want to bring to your attention this case. It's pending. It's important because I know how, and you made it clear, and all staff knows how important issues regarding impacts due to homelessness are for the city. So if we can bring up the PowerPoint, that'd be great. So there's a case pending. It's called the Grants Pass versus Gloria Johnson case. It deals with the limitations on municipal authority to enforce no camping ordinances. It's received a lot of attention. I think some of you have received correspondence related to this case, so I want to just give you a little context of the case. Next slide. The case really is an extension of this Martin versus City of Boise case that we've talked about before. Basically, that case essentially says in a narrow holding, there are certain situations where to enforce and criminalize indigent homeless people who have no choice and really can only sleep outside, to make that a criminal act runs afoul of the federal Constitution in limited circumstances. If we go to the next slide. The problem with this current case is that it extends that limited holding very broadly, and basically it just says, hey, if you don't have sufficient beds for the number of point in time count homeless that may be in your city, you can't enforce your public camping ordinance criminally or civilly. And this district court issued a class-wide injunction in this particular city, and the Ninth Circuit upheld that. That city has asked the United States Supreme Court to review the case. There are multiple parties who have filed requests to support the court reviewing the case. That includes the League of California Cities, the County Association, the San Diego District Attorney's Office has filed a really interesting, good brief on the point. And so right now this case it's pending at the Supreme Court. They haven't made a final decision. They've asked for a response from the other parties. So there's at least some hope. I will keep you informed about how things move forward. Next slide. In terms of our ordinance, as you know, we very carefully crafted our river ordinance to address conduct and not situations. So we're comfortable and we're continuing to enforce our river ordinance. We have 4 cases that are pending, and we're going to continue to aggressively enforce that. However, we do have traditional no camping ordinances as well. Those we're not enforcing because of the Boise case in most situations. And so we are monitoring this closely. We don't think there's anything individually for the city to do because you're represented by these broader organizations, but we want to just bring this to your attention and indicate to you that we'll continue to monitor it and bring back any changes. And the hope is that the Supreme Court does take the case and bring some clarity to the situation, because for many jurisdictions who don't have the kind of more focused ordinance that we do, it's basically they can't enforce anything right now. So it's a really important issue. Just wanted to highlight it for you. And again, I don't have any recommendation for you to do anything, but we'll keep you up to date.
I have a question.
Yep.
All right, I have a question. So if the law is that you have to have a certain number of beds open, and that's a finite number, but a point in time count really isn't, because they're just saying, well, there's a tent, and based on estimates, there's 4 people. That's apples to oranges.
Yep, and that's exactly the substance of some of the petitions or the Friends of Court briefs that just say this doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't.
It's just, it's taking sort of this and comparing it with that, and it really gets away from, at the core, there's the Boise case, there's some element of, if you're really dealing with a situation where there's no options, to criminalize that behavior,
Sure.
There could be situations where that, makes sense to not be able to do that. But this is just such a broad stroke and highlights the point that you made. It really is, right now, completely tying jurisdiction's hands.
But, so we talked briefly, in our case, and even countywide in San Diego here, there's a lot of resources that are available. There are beds available, and there's voucher programs for hotels, right, wrong, or indifferent, but there are voucher programs, there's places for these resources for people to go. They're flat out refusing the resources in a lot of cases. And so, how do you, I don't know.
Well, and that, Vice Mayor, that's exactly the problem with this case.
You hear that? Yeah, I heard it. You hear that?
Because it doesn't, the Boise case is like, look at the individual circumstance, right? And this case just says, ignore the individual circumstances, just look at the numbers. And if the beds don't line up with this random point in time count, you can't do it. So it's very problematic. Again, we're hoping that there'll be some review.
If there's one benefit that came out of Boise, though, is it really brings to light what you're talking about. Because the fact that we have so many law enforcement agencies and community-based organizations that are, and communities that are building these tiny homes and other things just so they have enough. But when they remain empty because the people on the street don't want to use that, and that wasn't considered originally in Boise, that these people probably said, no, I don't want that. But then you have the ACLU comes in and says, hey, we'll get you off the hook on that, and everybody else that goes along with that. But this brings it to light that there's a broader problem here, and it has to be more narrowly defined at the very least. Thank you, Sean.
Welcome.
Let's talk more about that later on as things come up, because I know that I talk about it up at the league and different places like that. And I know there's some amicus briefs being written. So, thank you. All right, then, we have no closed session tonight. How about that? So in honor of Christmas and the new vice mayor, I'm going to say meeting adjourned. Merry Christmas.